Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. We are streaming here from the Liberty Hill, Texas area. It's in the Texas Hill Country. You may be familiar with this because we are sitting here and talking to you. Thank you so much for being a part of it. We'll be working for the Red Wave in November. Are we in the United States of India? I don't know. I luckily can communicate with Indians in their native tongue, which is just like this. It's just you just talk to them this way, and then everyone can understanding what they are saying. I've got a bunch of clips. I don't know where this is coming from, but it seems like there's a social media deluge. I think I'm pretty confident that I didn't create it. It does seem like there are people that are being more and more frustrated, but I think more and more people are aware of it. Perhaps you just decided to wake up one day and then look out and see that the GOP chair of the state of Texas, an enormous state, the biggest in the contiguous United States, is run by an Indian dude who was born in India, and there's a lot more of them around here. That will make you an extremist. That can make you an extremist in your own country. We're about to celebrate the American 250th birthday, anniversary, Declaration of Independence. We're going to have this moment where we're supposed to be celebrating America, and America doesn't look anything like it looked even 50 years ago, and I've got some evidence of that, and that happens to be something that Fox News thought was relevant. I also think it's relevant for all of us, but not maybe for the way they think. I see a reboot of the 1990s. And I keep telling you guys, I see this moment. There was a time capsule. There was a couple of moments in there. Yesterday, we talked about the capturing of the Unabomber and his publishing of a manifesto, which said that technology is a net bad. It's not making us look good. It's not adding to human happiness. And I think a lot of people saw it then. And not only has that technology sort of failed to bring us the flying cars and the stuff that we saw in the 1980s, which was going to come out of the Back to the Future movies. We don't have that stuff. We don't have this American utopia. We kind of have a dystopia, and more people are aware of it than ever before. 30 years after those moments, we are coming back to that same place where we had Ruby Ridge, where people were extremists because they just wanted to be left alone. And I've got some interesting sort of news coverage from 10 years ago bitching about, and that's the only way I can describe it, what was happening in North Idaho, where a bunch of people said like, hey, we just want to be in North Idaho. You don't want to be in North Idaho. Why do you care what we're all about? Can you just leave us alone? And the federal government was like, no, we're going to come out there and see if we can kill you and your families. And now they might call you an extremist because you don't want a data center with AI that's keeping track of your every movement on the internet and in real life using cameras and so on. And that might make you an extremist. So when everybody is an extremist, you're just a regular person. And that means the people that are pushing that quote unquote extremist label, they're the actual extremists. We've got another example that broke yesterday, which we're going to talk about from Ken Klippenstein. It's every single day that we see this, and then nothing better than finding out that the mouthpieces of our government, which tend to be the leftist media, are going to run out and run cover for it immediately and saying, you might be a terrorist, you might be an extremist if you don't want more data centers consuming millions and millions of square footage, eating up your natural resources, taking away water rights, and causing you a bunch more, sort of like grid stress when we already have high energy prices. So there you go. That's what we're going to get into today. And I promise you a number of enraging videos. And I also promise you Steve Friend, who will come and talk to me. And, the only thing that's good about this job that I do today, maybe not the only thing, but one of the really good things is that nobody can cancel me. I don't take money from anybody that cares what I have to say. They've never once tried to put an input on it. And so I can say anything I like, and I do. And I'm not answerable to anybody. And when people send things to me and I'm like, yeah, we don't really vibe on what's important and what's not, then I don't take their money. We don't do an advertisement for them. We do advertisements for people that I think make a lot of sense and sell products that we would get behind. So real quickly, we're going to go ahead and start with that. My friends over at Cove Pure. It's COVEPURE.com/Kyle, covepure.com/Kyle. That will save you $250 off their retail price. Probably like a lot of you guys, we don't take anything at face value anymore, and nor should you. We do have a government that's supposed to be filtering and setting safe levels for what's in and what's not in your water.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be good for you. It just turns out it's good for some governmental agency. Okay, over 170 million Americans are drinking tap waters with what are called PFAs in them. They're man-made chemicals. They're often used in food packaging, nonstick cookware. They're also in firefighting foam. So that sounds like something I want to drink. They're called forever chemicals because your body doesn't have the ability to break them down. They just sort of hang out there forever, and they can be linked to things like hormone disruption and immune damage and increased cancer risks. All the things that we didn't used to have maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, they have probably caused a bunch of different cascading effects, and it makes people have less good life. One of the simplest things in the world should be that you should just be able to go to the water, turn on the tap on the water, and then drink actual water without a bunch of junk in it. And even though the EPA sets legal limits on there, they have a long time before they have to actually comply with this. Your water systems don't actually have to comply for the next 6-7 years, which means you've got a whole bunch of time to be able to ingest all this garbage before they hit the legal limits, and God knows what they're going to do to you. This is one of the things that people had questions about during COVID. What are you putting into our bodies? What are you asking us to put in? We don't want to do that. Cove Pure was engineered to get rid of stuff like this. Unlike a normal pitcher you're going to get at the store, some kind of like inexpensive Brita or something like that. They have Clearwave technology, which is reverse osmosis. It removes up to 99.9% of contaminants, to include heavy metals, fluorides, pharmaceuticals, and PFAs. The filtering particles are hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. Guys, we use it for our kids. It's available on the counter for my children to just push a button. My wife can't figure out how to use that button. No big deal. Maybe more on that in a minute. But the kids can figure it out. You push a button and you get the size of the vessel that you're drinking in either hot, cold, or lukewarm. It's a great option. Check them out. Link in the show description, covepure.com/KYLE. We're going to get into today's program starting now. Okay, and another man who can no longer be canceled because he's already been canceled enough times. We will now bring on the illustrious and typical Friday guest, Stephen Friend.
Present and accounted for and in solidarity with you, sir. I have also let the beard go feral for a full week.
Okay, so we got into it last night on the call-in show. Folks, if you're not a member of the program, you can be a show subscriber on Locals. It's KyleSeraphin.com. You can be a member of the channel on YouTube. I don't know why everybody has a different name for it, but you can do that. I think it's $5 a month, all these places. We had call-in shows, and somehow I offhandedly made reference to Notre Dame potentially being gay, or being a Notre Dame fan being a little gay. And they were like, why did you think that? And to be fair, I just think I just said it. I just pulled it out of my ass, and I just said some things that I may not feel very strongly about. And they were kind of Rudy related somewhere in my brain. And then somebody was like, justify your position about Notre Dame. And I was like, I don't know. Steve Friend doesn't have a beard. Steve Friend is the only person I know from Notre Dame right now. People who don't have beards tend to be gay. So maybe that's what's going on here. And then he said, Steve's going to get you in the morning. So now I'm letting you know. I'm coming clean with you. If I would say it behind your back, I'd say it to your face, Steve. That's just how I operate.
Full dispensation granted.
Do we care about that? By the way, one of our listeners who called in, Josh, let me know that he's a huge Notre Dame fan. And that's why he was going to back up. He was going to back up Notre Dame no matter what. And he explained to me how much he loves Notre Dame and how many games he's been to and all this other stuff. And then I go, oh, well, did you go to school there? And he goes, no. And I went, oh. And he was like, that's kind of gay, isn't it?
This is referred to affectionately as the Subway alumni.
The Subway. Tell me about the Subway alumni. What does this even mean? By the way, they have this in Oklahoma too. There's just no Subways. Go ahead.
The Subway alumni structure, it's nationwide. It's people who just love the football program, love the school, not in any way affiliated with it, didn't attend, don't have family members there. It's just been relevant to them in their lives one way or another. I mean, they say that the most powerful and important person in the Catholic Church every day, other than the Pope, is the starting quarterback at Notre Dame, particularly on Saturdays. So,
but wait, who is? I mean, does anyone even know who the starting quarterback at Notre Dame is, other than the kind of Subway alumni people? I wouldn't know.
Well, I mean, I guess you're just not a very good Catholic.
Allegedly. I don't get it. I had never understood that. So when I lived in Oklahoma, which was for 5 years because I did an extra year at Oklahoma, not because I loved it so much, but because I stopped going to classes at some point and did a kind of a week first senior year. So I had to do a stronger showing where I ended with a mohawk. And true story. I remember seeing that the town would go from being like 40, 50,000 people during the week, and then it would explode into like over 100,000 people, and like every street was completely impassable, and there would be RVs lining all the sides, and all my favorite bars were completely inaccessible because all these people who never went to school there, that was their version of pro sports. Mm-hmm. Is there a pro sports team in Indiana?
In Indianapolis, I think they have a pro basketball team, they have a pro football team, but by and large, Notre Dame is kind of all they got. I guess they have the Indy 500. I mean, but again, everybody's playing second fiddle to the Golden Dome.
Is that what you call it? Is that a Notre Dame reference?
Yeah, it's our administrative building. Our administrative building.
What is it called? The Golden Dome? That sounds like a mosque. I don't think we should have that.
Well, at least we don't have gigantic demon god statues like you do in Texas.
We do have a gigantic demon god Texas. Do you want to start? Do you want to start that right off the bat? Is that where we're gonna go?
Full send today, brother.
Okay, we're going all the way. Let me get into this clip here. Jesus would have been against your version of freedom of religion in America today is the allegation. This is a guy named Dale what's his name? Partridge?
And
Do you know him? Garrett sends me his clips on occasion. So I get this clip. I take a look at it. He says, crazy stuff, Kyle. I watched the Kyle Seraphin show. I heard you make reference to a huge demon god statue that looked like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom in Sugar Land, Texas. And then the next thing to follow in his feed was this. And we'll go ahead and just play it real quick. And also his take on it, which I'll get your take right after. Here we go. Demon gods rolling on one.
Okay, this is in India. This is Sugar Land, Texas, and that is the fourth tallest statue in the United States. And it's all because of the evil misunderstanding and misinterpretation of our First Amendment on the freedom of religion. Do you think that this is what the founders of America had in mind? Of course not, right? No, the first commandment in the Bible is no other gods. And 99% of the framers of the Constitution were Christian. So freedom of religion was about freedom of Christian denominations. Now, secondly, you cannot disconnect the immigration of Hindus from the immigration of their demons. We are literally, through our immigration policy, importing devils into our land.
I think that's consistent with what they had at the Iowa State House for the last few years, where they had the Satanist statue that was put on full display there, and it was the whole statement of, wow, freedom of religion, so we're going to put in this Satan demon. And then finally you had, I believe it was a veteran, drove from out of state there and just tore it down, and they tried to charge him with a crime and wound up, I guess, getting pled down to some sort of misdemeanor. He didn't want to do any time. But I think that there's a strong case to be made that freedom of religion in this country did not necessarily include anti-religion.
Anti-religion. Mm. It's hard to see that thing and know that it's about 2 hours south of me, 2 hours south and east of me, and think that that's in Houston, which you'd think is America. It doesn't, I mean, the music obviously adds to it, but like watching people crawl all over a demon god statue, and I honestly don't know what it is. Somebody said the other day, and I think I mentioned it even maybe here, they were like, Indian women have the most beautiful hair. God has blessed them. And I'm like, which one of their gods is responsible for hair blessings? And what, like how many hands does the god have and all this other kind of stuff? And why, this kindness for weakness moment that we're having in America is the reason why I think MAGA came in. And it was the allegation that made it, quote unquote, xenophobic, that it made them bigoted, it made you a bad person. And so there's all this, you remember the conflation that MAGA equals racism? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that's sort of the genesis of the term agave.
Right.
You're a white supremacist because you happen to vote for one white dude over another white dude.
Because it was going to be the younger white dude who was still ancient. Fair enough. Here's a thing that Fox News ran earlier this week. So I guess this was last week. This was a last week story. I don't need to jump on what they consider to be breaking news from the 1970s. So here we go. This is the viral 1976 Coca-Cola commercial, and it sparks nostalgia for a more patriotic American culture. This is the claim. By the way, I'm currently being sued by a conservative, patriotic American who is Armenian in ethnicity and grew up in not the United States, and then also California, which is barely the United States, claiming that she's from Arkansas and Tennessee. Anyway, it's just interesting, like what we're selling patriotism, and we're trying to do it. I don't know. Did you see this like 250th anniversary that they're trying to launch this birthday concert?
It's nonstop. It's not. We're going to have complete bread and circus in all lead up to it. It will include combat on the lawn of the White House. Like, can you get any more Roman Empire, the decline and fall, than that?
Did we just get kicked off YouTube? Is that what people are saying?
Oh no. Well, I mean,
YouTube,
I was going to.
We just violated YouTube's standards, so the show was just removed from YouTube.
Huh. Well, look, to your credit, you probably got more views on that video than the FBI's YouTube channel, with roughly, what, 8% of the subscribers?
Wait a minute, how? What did we even play that was bad? Because of India? Yeah, this is where it's going right now. Okay, so let's lean into this for a moment. Number one, we've got a 250th anniversary concert, which you've referred to as bread and circuses, and I think that's accurate. I think that's the appropriate way to look at it. And then we had a president basically come out, and I don't know who's responsible for that party, but they tried to launch a bunch of different people into it. They were going to have Martina McBride. They were going to have Poison and Bret Michaels. These are basically all the people that are playing the casino circuit around to like all the aging boomers that put all their money in a slot machine. They were going to have Milli Vanilli and Vanilla Ice do it.
Ice, yeah.
Which reminds me of 1776 quite a bit, actually. And then all these people were like, nah, we're not going to do it. And they realized that it's too partisan. It's too stupid. I actually support the people that are canceling themselves from that concert, that are saying, like, I don't want to be part of it, because I wouldn't want to be part of it either. They haven't fixed the problem that said America loves America still. They're just trying to paint over it and say, like, let's bring out all this excitement. Let's try to gin it up. And I think this article from Fox News actually points it out, like, pretty appropriately. They have you seen this commercial? Did you watch it?
No.
Come across your feed?
It wouldn't surprise me if you watch any of those old commercials from that era, that you'd be like, wow, I can't believe that's the same country we live in now.
It's not the same country. And I think that's the point. And people are trying to act like, oh, well, like America's evolved, but it's still good. And it's like, no, it's not the same America. We don't live in the same place. Like, the country that I live in is gone. The country that I grew up in, the country that you grew up in, it's not there anymore. Like, it's objectively not there, because I will show you what it looked like 4 years before I was born. My brother was alive. Obviously, my parents were running around, and they saw this, and a lot of our audience will have seen it as well. And when you see it, the people are skinny. They're not eating PFAs. They're not drinking like poisoned water. They don't have significant amounts of hormonal disruption in their food supply. They don't have processed garbage going in. And this is an ad for freaking Coca-Cola, which is garbage theoretically. But at least it was done with
cocaine in it at that point. Is it that long
No,
ago?
it did not have cocaine. It had syrup in it though, which was a flavoring. It had a mixture of different like junk that they put in there, and it had cane sugar. And amazingly, we've gotten to the point where we'd rather drink chemicals and eat food like matter instead of actually eating normal stuff. I mean, if you want to lose weight, people, it's so easy. You just turn around and just eat actual food. You'd be like, how many ingredients are this? Can I pronounce all of them? No, I don't eat it. It's not food. It's not like combining even ingredients into things. They'd be like, oh, well, it's this thing powder, dehydrated and reconstituted this thing, whatever. It's like, okay, that's not it. And you can see the results of it in this
So you mean to tell
commercial.
me that government-sponsored and subsidized glyphosate in your food and Ozempic on the back end is not the path to having this svelte figure?
Which is the crazy piece, because a lot of people voted for what? MAHA, right? They voted for Make America Great Again and Make America Healthy Again. And both of those ideas, you can't vote for those people. You have to live them. Steve Friend famously told me years ago, you have to do America like it's an action verb. And we don't do America. We think that we're going to ask somebody else to do America on our behalf, and it's going to work out. And the fact of the matter is, it will not. And so here's the story. I'll just read a little bit of it. The 1976 Coca-Cola commercial celebrating the Bicentennial, the 200-year anniversary of this country, going viral online, in the wake of the 250th coming up, which will be pathetic in comparison. 100% guaranteed it will be pathetic, because we don't have a nation of Americans anymore. And if you disagree with your government, then you're the problem. And the government is obviously the ones doing this. It says that the commercial from 1976, the past is a foreign country. That's Ed Wokeness over on X saying this. This is a foreign country I'm about to show you. All right. And then Fox is trying to say, no, it's not. Look, like here's Boy Scouts marching. But the Boy Scouts also include girls in 2026. So there is no Boy Scouts anymore. That's not a real thing. That's a distant memory from our past. So I will show you this. The other thing is my kids have been watching this thing called Liberty Kids. Are you familiar with this?
Familiar, but have not partaken.
I think it was PBS. It's not very good, but it's basically a cartoon dramatization teaching the American history in a way that actually is favorable to America, which I think is illegal at this point, but you can still find it on Netflix until they realize what they've got. This is the commercial that is pointing out this is a foreign country you're looking at. And the crazy thing is this thing started ending in the 90s. And when people started recognizing like, hey, I think we've lost something really important. We ended up with 9/11 and a rebirth of like patriotism, which was all about like, let's kill some people overseas. Let's go find some foreign enemies. Meanwhile, we're going to continue to import things that are not American. And we're going to experience this crazy deal where if you notice that your country is not what it was, like you're the issue. And eventually we're going to actually call you a domestic terrorist. And then if you don't support the data centers that we want to put in as a government, which by the way has like somewhere between 70 and 80% unfavorability ratings, you might be a terrorist too. Don't disagree with our government. We're getting there. All right, let's play the video real quick. This is kind of a longer version. And there's some music. Just look how skinny everybody is. And then look at like how dominantly American culture they are. You ready? Here we go.
Go get life. Everybody wants a little life. Go get life. Everything that makes you living nice. Coca-Cola. Keep the sun shining down on your parade. Coca-Cola. Beat your drum now. Sing my song. Coca-Cola. Who's it alone? Go get life. Everybody wants a little life. Go get life. Everything that makes you live nice. Coca-Cola. You and me. Reaching for some extra fun. Coca-Cola. We're gonna sing and we're gonna shout. Start all over when the stars come out. Coke gets life. Everybody wants a little life. Coca-Cola.
Boom. Those people look like my parents when they met, which some of them, like they basically were my parents when they met. My dad had a mustache and he played a guitar and he had longer hair. You know, there's some black guys in there that have afros. It looks like what I think America looks like.
You know, last week we were talking about the conflation of terms, you know, could be being anti-Semitic with anti-Zionist or Republican with conservative. I think we can also talk about a conflation of nostalgia with patriotism. And that can be really dangerous because what you see in that commercial there is patriotism, love of country, love of the principles that are behind the country versus what we're being pitched today, which is that commercial. Like we want to go back to the days of yore, which is not possible, but it's the principles that allowed the country to last for the additional 50 years and to thrive and to succeed. But if you're just always looking backwards and trying to get back and not recognizing the battlefield conditions as they currently are constituted and making the necessary adjustments while still keeping a foot firmly on the ground of the principles that you have through patriotism, not nostalgia, then you can actually thrive. And I'm thinking about like 1976, that's the year that Rocky won the Academy Award, right? If you remember that movie, the whole thing is that Apollo Creed is wearing the crossing the Delaware George Washington outfit as he comes out in the Uncle Sam trunks. It's because it's going on during the Bicentennial year.
Right.
That's American culture in 1976, where a dude has no shot and it's kind of like at a dead end. Like it wasn't perfect. It wasn't a panacea, but you still had a chance to work really hard and good things could happen. Those were the principles that were there.
And who was at the top? It was like the top boxer was a black guy and nobody had a problem with that.
No, there was nothing to that.
Like nobody would have even doubted that. In fact, the white guy was the underdog.
Yes.
And that's reality in that particular match too, like just by size. And was it Carl Weathers? Is that his name?
Carl Weathers, yeah. Duly
Epic
departed.
legend. Okay. Then you can go and you can see the same sort of celebration. This is a mixer. Apparently, since somebody said we got cheated off YouTube, which is funny. This is a mixer in Austin, Texas. I used to go and jog in this place. I didn't know that they did mixers there, but everything kind of changes. There's more people in the area. I used to run from my home in Austin in 2012. And not only were there no people doing this of any kind, the density of Indian people was very, very small because South Austin was primarily Hispanics and then white gentrification people. And this was like a place where athletic people came and ran, which was overwhelmingly like white and black people. I'm saying this very explicitly, and I'm using the terms of people's skin color, not because I really care about it, but because it was obvious when you ran, you were like, these are people who are from America. They have American upbringings. They speak like an American. When you hear them, you're like, oh, I wonder what part of America that person is from. And then you see this and you tell me, I have no idea where any of these people are from, but I'm betting a lot of them didn't come from here at all. Many of them are probably not citizens. Good thing they're both chubby, which we're chubbying up foreigners now. I guess that's our major export. And then we are getting rid of people who we're like phasing out people who would have been in that commercial from the 1970s. Here we go. These are networking events in Austin, Texas. Network plus fun. Oh, that dude has a turban on. That's good. All in Western dress, for the most part. I could see how offensive that was. I would kick me off YouTube too.
I'm still wrapped up.
What is going on there, Steve Friend?
I think there's been an adequate amount of ink spilled on the whole idea of the problems that happens when you have, I mean, I guess for lack of a better term, an invasion of foreign interests in the country, taking jobs from Americans, and on top of that, preferencing in their hiring decisions other foreigners rather than Americans. There's a lot of nepotism that goes in there. And I'm even thinking about your allusion to going jogging in 2012, and it was a bunch of white people and black people. It's a uniquely American thing to like go jogging from, but I can tell. I mean, I've read enough
Zero
about
Indians doing jogging in 2012 in Austin, Texas, which was a very liberal city.
CIA
Zero.
contractors like going to the Middle East would be like, hey, what's a good cover for action to surveillance? I'll go jogging because they'll see me and realize, oh, I'm American, and that's an American thing.
It's a totally American thing to do. There is no more American thing than like, I'm going to go run for no reason.
And wind up where I started.
Which Steve Friend does and wind up where I started, which Steve Friend does every single day.
Just me and the homeless people and the fishermen at that early hour.
I've got a little sort of PSA, and then we'll do one more ad read here. But I want to do a PSA for anybody that's interested in trying to make sure that you capitalize on your student visa. I just want to double check. F1 visa, does that sound right? Student visa?
Yes.
I think that's a student visa. It's a non-immigrant visa, which means you're not meant to stay here. Mm-hmm. It's for international students to enter the United States, pursue a full-time degree or an English language program during the Student Exchange Visitor Program, SEVP, at a certified school that allows you to do so. They require that you have an admission to an institution. So you have to have admission. You must have proof of financial support. You cannot come here to make money. And you must have done an interview at an embassy. I think probably the U.S. Embassy and wherever the place is. You must have a proficiency in English or be enrolled to build your proficiency in English. I'm looking at a couple other things. You must maintain a residence abroad with no immediate intention of abandoning it. Mm-hmm. Are we on the same page?
Yeah. And I believe you're also exempted from having to return to your country of origin before you apply for a green card. That whole thing where the Trump administration is going to make you go touch home base first, it doesn't apply to these people.
Here is the cheat code. If you are a foreign citizen, as a foreign, what do you call it? A foreign student on an F1 visa, you're already ahead of the curve. So you can get ahead of this H-1B problem. And so you are a bargain to be able to hire at a lower rate than Americans that are from America. And if you wonder why people think that folks are getting extreme, this is how you get extremism, folks. This is also, I've got the other video of the guy who's threatening to kill an ICE officer's wife and kids. That's how you get night squads. Night squads are the people that come out and do the business in the night that you can't do in the day because it can't be done and criminals can't be found when it's dark outside, per Merrick Garland. Anyway, here's the cheat code. If you guys are interested in, maybe we could get some more foreign students hired instead of your children.
If you are on an F1 visa in the US, you've already cleared the hardest hurdle. The new $100,000 H-1B fee has crushed the job market, not making companies sponsor any overseas applicants. That's why you've got a huge advantage being in the US, because the H-1B fee doesn't apply to you. But you could easily waste this opportunity if you don't find a job and let your OPT expire. That's why so many international students are jumping onto MigrateMate. It's the only job platform specifically built for visa holders with over 500,000 sponsorship opportunities across every industry, all verified by the US government. You can view companies that sponsor up to 10 different types of visas like H-1Bs, green cards, and so many more. And you can save your time and energy by directly contacting the visa contact at each company. You have an advantage, so make sure you use it. Head over to MigrateMate and find companies that will actually sponsor you today.
Dear friend, you have an opportunity to take advantage of this thing that you have got that is not meant to be doing this. You are meant to have to maintain a residence overseas abroad that you are not intending to immediately abandon.
You don't have to leave. And the companies that hire you don't have to pay the $100,000 fee. And now we've created a cottage industry that exists now to help people subvert the intentions of the United States government. And that isn't a threat to national security. But if you don't like the idea of paying more for electricity bills or having your water pressure down because there's some data center that is off the books, somehow sucking up millions of gallons of water, or maybe you're worried because you're a Gaia worshiper or worried about the hole in the ozone layer and you're saying there's too much carbon from that data center, you're a terrorist, you're a threat to national security, that tracks.
Let me summarize yesterday's show for anyone that didn't see it. And I actually encourage you to kind of go back and look at this just for a bit. I made a couple of things that I think are interesting comparisons. Number one, if you oppose data centers, you are considered a terrorist by the American government. They're at least floating that idea as the newest expansion into domestic terrorism. That means if you, and that's data centers. Data centers are overwhelmingly run by huge tech companies, which hire overseas by the tunes of 2/3 to 1/3 foreign-born versus American-born workers. So you have, if you oppose the businesses that are running massive facilities, sucking up resources, whether you're a leftist or you're on the hard right, whatever it may be, if you're a nativist American type or you're, as you said, a Gaia-worshipping pagan, you can still be aligned and you can still be considered to be a terrorist because the ideology has to do with the fact that you are supporting your own thing for your own reasons. This is the Tom Massey argument. It's like, oh, he votes against the Republicans. It's like only because he doesn't agree with the Democrats more. Okay, fine. It's a yes or no. It's a binary. So when you have that, you're going to end up in the place where Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, was correct. And he saw it many years ago. He was arrested in the mid-1990s, 95 or 96. I should have double-checked that before I started today. But my argument yesterday was Uncle Ted was always correct. He started seeing this in the late 70s, and he was able to prophetically tell that this was a problem that was growing, that technology was not serving man and making their lives better. It, in fact, became kind of like this false god, and we've decided to serve it. And our government, which loves false gods, has decided to make it part of its own sort of little, like, I don't know, like its own, what's the word I'm looking for a colonnade of gods? What do they have those in the...
An idol?
Oh, they have no, I can't think of it. The pantheon. It's like in their own little pantheon of gods, I would say. So there are many of them, and intelligence services love it, obviously, because this is how you serve government. And then we made the funny joke that a guy apparently can show up at the CIA, and rather than that guy running the CIA today, this is a guy who was able to sign away $40 million. Yes. Steve, he was able to get $40 million in gold bars for operational expenses at his house, which I assume was headed for some politician somewhere. Isn't that what we've seen politicians who are corrupt? We were like, oh, like, isn't that what happens
Bob
to
Menendez? Yeah, that's over 600 pounds of gold.
It's a shitload of gold. But the impressive thing was that he was able to sign it out like it was petty cash. He had $2 million in cash at home. And the entire reason he got caught is because he lied about everything to work at the CIA in the first place. He falsified his records. He was a lieutenant in the Navy and somehow lied about being a pilot, which he wasn't. Nobody caught on to this, and they caught on to it when he filed some sort of time card fraud trying to get something
for
that
like,
was like
70
a military
grand.
benefit.
I mean, like, you telling me that guy just didn't be like, hey, I've served my country, I'm on a greener pastures, and just the greed, he had to try to get an extra 70
I think
grand.
that guy should be running things. I was talking to an FBI agent who's still on right now, and he was like, the go big or go home attitude should be real, because he went big. He went all the way. And the CIA should have been like, hey, man, fair play. You lied to us. You spooked the spook, as my wife told me the other day. You spooked the spooks. Like, theoretically the best. You're actually the best. You now teach classes for us.
Yeah, isn't that Frank Abagnale, the Catch Me If You Can guy?
That's exactly
the type of guy you want there.
You're like, this is the guy. Okay, look, here's the deal. You don't get to keep the gold because we found it, and that's on you. And you don't get to keep the watches and the money because that's on you. You shouldn't have done that. But you're in charge now. You're the new leader.
You're the Jedi Master. Show us your ways.
Yeah, teach us how to do what you did because obviously we don't know how to do it as well as you do. That's what should happen. All right. We're talking about data centers. We're talking about kind of a return to the 1990s. You're going to see a boost of both white nationalism, white supremacy, and whatever ugly versions that exists. I'm confident of it. It will come probably to regular people through the guise of what I will call like nativism, where people who say America is for Americans, and that actually shouldn't be all that controversial. I have a video from a group that seems like they might be like white supremacists sort of leaning. They certainly have all the vibes. They've got all this Nordic crap in there. They claim that they're based in North Idaho and Sweden, which is a pretty good indicator. But I listened to the original part of this video and I couldn't find anything wrong with it. So I actually want to share it. It comes from a thing called, I think, Red Ice TV. Again, go look it up. I've looked into it. I'm sure it's going to be not friendly for certain mentalities. And yet I guarantee you those people are creating more and more inroads, not because of their strong perspective, which is, debatable, but because people are getting driven away from the, I just want to see live and let live. You can't let us like be well enough alone. You can't let us have a centennial. You can't have American for Americas or America for Americans. So you're going to start seeing people get really pissy about it. And they're going to find themselves the minority in their own country. People don't take that real well because people are starting to call places like North Idaho the new Rhodesia. That's not a place where this government is not even in a close position to be able to defend that sort of thing. There's not enough federal government employees. There's not enough like domestic law enforcement to stop a mass group of people going, you know what? Fuck you. We're not playing your game. Okay, and so with that, and I'm sure my sponsors will be thrilled about this, but here we go. Let's go into Patriot Protect. If you guys want to protect yourself from, I don't know, like scumbagged data brokers, people in India that are trying to redeem your Amazon gift cards, yeah, you might not want to have those people doing that stuff. There are data leaks, there are data breaches, there are people thieving, and then there are people that take advantage of this stuff through the data brokers that are out there launching around on Google, which Google, by the way, that's YouTube, which I think just canceled our channel, or at least they gave us a strike and took down the content for some darn reason. In any case, guys, if you want to protect yourself from scumbag scam artists from both domestic and abroad, I guess they could be based anywhere at this point. They could be based in Houston, Texas, or Austin, and they might be in freaking Hyderabad. Patriot-protect.com/KYLE, Patriot-protect.com/Kyle. It's a tech company, but guess what? You've heard the founder, and he doesn't have any of this accent like this in any way, shape, or form. He's a regular dude. His name is Skip. And he comes on here and talks to us about problems all over the place in the cyber world. If you think that scammers will not prey on you, think again. The average American loses about $600. That's on average per year. But it's usually not one scam per year where you lose $600. It's generally speaking that you're going to lose tens of thousands and maybe even worse. I've had family members reach out and tell me, hey, we had this person, they lost $100,000, they lost $200,000. I had people tell me that they got scammed out of $500,000 plus $1,000 when I was working at the FBI. And guess what? Your federal government doesn't care unless it's big enough and you're not big enough. So you got to protect yourself, do something, save 15% or more, save 15% on any of the annual subscriptions. There's a couple different levels you can do it. Check it out. I don't recall which one ours is, but it keeps things out of our wheelhouse. It keeps my wife off the grid too. They'll also make sure that when someone threatens you and says, I'm coming for your wife and your kids, it'll be a lot harder to find you. It really is a lot harder if you don't have all these data broker, people search websites, and so on. So check them out, patriot-protect.com/KYLE, link in the show description. We'll get back into it right now. Steve, Mr. Friend, should we play this kind of like edgy video that I've got here? It is kind of edgy.
I mean, First Amendment extremist here, right? Absolutism. I think I want to mention one thing.
I'm not going to play all of it.
You're talking about, it's even connects to what we were talking about last week, where it's like, hey, I don't have an opinion on Israel because I only care about America. And then the pressure comes down of like, well, if you don't care, then you're anti-Semitic. And eventually it's like, well, you're an a-hole, so I guess I'll just be against everything that you're. And that's like the natural devolution that people are going to go through.
Let me lean into that exact statement, because I'm going to show you where you're going to start going like, dude, if you're going to make these analogies, I'm just going to be on whatever the other team is. You ready for it?
Said it.
These are people. This is, what is this guy's name? He served in the IDF and he's like missing a leg. He's in Congress.
Oh,
He'll show up on the screen here in a second. They're making the analogies, and you listen, and then you tell me how this argument hits you. It pushes me the other direction too. And it's like, I don't want to have an opinion one way or another. I just don't give a shit about other countries. I actually thought you were going to try to work on this country. If you're going to work on other countries, like, yeah, then I'm opposed to all of whatever you say. Whatever you say, yeah, Brian Mast is his name. If whatever you say, I'm on the opposite side.
I would encourage the other side to not so lightly throw around the idea of innocent Palestinian civilians, as is frequently said. I don't think we would so lightly throw around the term innocent Nazi civilians during World War II.
In World War II, we did not negotiate a surrender with the Nazis. We did not negotiate a surrender with the Japanese. We nuked the Japanese twice in order to get unconditional surrender. That needs to be the same here.
Many people in this part of the world say what happened in Gaza does not align with Christian values. Killing children, killing mothers,
I'll be honest
killing
with
families
you.
who are not militants.
Yeah, I don't buy that at all.
Why?
Because what did we do in World War II? Did we think 1 minute about starving the Germans? Did we bomb every city into smithereens? So this is a war. No,
October 7th to World War II.
Yes, I am. This is an absolute existential threat to the Jewish people. We flattened Berlin. We flattened Tokyo. Were we wrong to drop an atomic bomb to end the Japanese reign of terror? Were we? So my view, if I were Israel, I would have probably done it the same way.
I would encourage the other side to not so lightly throw around the idea of innocent
Palestinians. Are there not innocents in every war? Isn't that something that we would...
They're called collateral damage in the unfortunate circumstances where somebody might lose their life, which is just a natural outgrowth of a kinetic operation. Back to nostalgia.
Were there like allegations of war crimes during the so-called innocent Nazis that they were just talking about? Wasn't like Dresden kind of a problem that people look back and be like, hey, if you want to know what like an overreaction looks like, it's when you firebomb an entire city and you kill everybody in it. That seems...
Tokyo, that's made out of bamboo and you firebomb that. Yeah, same sort of thing. I mean, the nostalgia for just killing indiscriminately a whole bunch of people, and that's not me defending the Japanese during World War II. But it's the nostalgia of the neocon forever war arguments that are being made. It's pretty rich. And look, they're going back to an era that is what, 80 years ago, and saying that should be blanket applied to the same standard, cookie cutter style to whatever we are at today. That's where the danger is with nostalgia. Everything needs to be considered on a case-by-case basis. You have to be rooted in principles. One of those principles is just war theory. Now, it made sense in 1945, but you can't just say, well, they did it then, so now we have a precedent, so we're just going to do it because things were awesome then, so we're going to apply it to today.
I was trying to figure out the Brian Mast story because I guess it's just not that interesting to me. He was in the United States military for 12 years in the Army, had the amputations because of IEDs while he was in Afghanistan, U.S. Army, and then he volunteered to go be part of a civilian program with the IDF, and he's worn an IDF uniform into Congress. Have you seen that before?
Yes, I've seen that.
What planet are we on? Why is that a thing that somebody could do in America where you're like, hey, I'm going to wear a foreign military uniform into the U.S. Congress, and nobody's going to be like, hey, dude, you're out. You can't be here anymore. We don't know what you thought you were doing, but that's not what America's about.
Because there's certain areas in the respective political sides that the guardrails have been completely lifted. So you can't be pro-gay, LGBTQAI plus hashtag kamikaze stuff.
What the
kamikaze rainbow folks, right. Enough on the left side. Like, if you walk through the offices there, all you see are pride progress flags outside every single member's office. They can't get into that enough. And the same thing goes for the Republican side. You can't be pro-Israel enough as a Republican. You can't express fealty enough because the guardrails are lifted. There's no political consequences. Look at Randy Fine on that clip you just played. He's the district that's like, I'm like 300 yards outside of his district. It's Mike
He's
Walsh's
also,
old
he would be
district.
the fattest man in America in 1976.
Oh, I mean, he'd
be a circus performer.
He was like out of the ability for them to capture him on that Coca-Cola commercial because they didn't have a wide enough lens.
Mm-hmm.
He was a state representative in Florida. He was an assemblyman. He never wore his yarmulke. He accused everybody of being an anti-Semite. And then he went to U.S. Congress, and now he can't be seen without it because he's cloaking himself in it, which, I got to be honest, that's kind of anti-Semitic.
Do you know what's also anti-Semitic? Just randomly, I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to my buddy who's an attorney, and he was like, your lawsuit, the motion to dismiss was thrown out. It wasn't approved. It was denied. And I go, yeah. And he goes, isn't it weird that apparently referring to someone as a former Israeli intelligence asset or agent is defamatory? That feels kind of anti-Semitic. Like if I was like, Steve Friend, I know you married a Ukrainian woman, and I believe that you are a former Russian intelligence operative. And you'd be like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like you pull, like kind of like the CIA guy who pulled off taking all the gold bars out of the CIA. We kind of look at it and go like, I mean, we did want really good spies who were capable of doing deception, did we not? If you were someone who was able to deceive people long enough to be whatever you are, and you are no longer that thing, calling you a former intel of any country and being successful in your infiltration of this country, that actually, I don't know how that's defamatory, actually. I started thinking about sort of like the nature of that claim, which is already cartoonish. And I'm like, sounds like my judge is anti-Semitic. That seems anti-Semitic if you agree that being called an asset of America's greatest ally makes you that's a defamatory statement. That's a strange thing to claim.
Anti-Semitic is the new racist, right? That's the word that's applied that is eventually going to get to the point where it's nothing but scar tissue. And then you will see actual rise in anti-Semitism because people are like, you're an a-hole, just whatever you're about, I'm going to be against it by default, not because I have hatred in my heart.
That's it. You're going to allow a room to fester, a room to open up where people are going to be like, hey, have I told you about this awful ideas we have? And you're like, your idea sounds like actually more palatable than these assholes that are trying to cram this thing down that I didn't want. I was down with live and let live. You couldn't let that happen long enough. So now you want to shove it down my throat. And so you're going to get whatever, like the white nationalist people, the people that are really cagey, they don't say white supremacists anymore. They're like, America's for Americans, and I mean white Americans. It's like, well, I also mean black Americans and Mexican guys. Like, I don't give a shit. If you're American, I know you're American because you talk like me. You have the same values as me. You do things like I do. You maybe served in the military. You maybe wanted to get in law enforcement. You probably go to church on Sunday. Like, if you're the kind of person like me, then you're like me. And if you go worship a demon god somewhere, then you're that person. And that's not what my team is about. These people are going to have a place open up. You listen to this and tell me that this will not get much more sympathy than you would have seen 5 years ago even. Because today you're looking at it and you're going, well, they're not totally wrong. And they may not even be wrong at all in the opening of this. This is a 5-minute video. I'm not going to play all of it. If you guys want, I'll post it over on Locals so you can evaluate it yourself. I haven't gotten too deep into the video to see if it gets like real off the rails, but the beginning of it was totally sensible and logical, just numerically. This is called the racial minority
Just
scam.
who is a minority? It's not the people they say it is. Currently on the planet, the population is 8 billion. Let's take a look at how this 8 billion is distributed across the globe. See all that red and orange? That is populated by people who are not of European descent, not white. And while some of European descent live in the green area representing South America, the vast majority are not white. Mestizos are mixed race, doesn't count. What's left? See the blue and purple? This is supposed to be where Europeans live, but it's also where everyone else also lives. Therefore, it's not exclusively white anymore. We are called a majority when in fact we are a minority on the planet, and now even becoming a minority in the tiny spaces we inhabit through forced mass immigration and diversity. We get called a majority while all these people inhabiting all this space get called a minority simply because they come to live in this area. So when someone from China with a population of 1.45 billion, or India 1.41 billion, or Africa 1.4 billion, when they come somewhere here, then they magically become a minority. And even in this area marking European countries, even in some of these spaces now, Europeans are not a majority, but the minority through forced mass immigration. This space, marking Europe, consists of 45 countries, over 87 distinct ethnic peoples of Europe, and over 200 Indo-European languages. Yes, white people are ethnic and diverse, but we are being overrun by the people that inhabit all of this space on the planet. Then they come to our tiny space and cry oppressed, but we didn't ask them to come, and we don't need them to come.
There's more. Again, I can see right where that line is that she's walking on there. And I can also see, just as a person who grew up in the 1980s and 90s, when you start using the word white over and over again, our sensibilities are offended. In the same way, if you start saying like, yeah, women should work out of the home and they should do traditional roles, and you watch the people who grew up in the era of feminism, which includes my mother and it includes my wife. My wife will be like prickly about it for a second, and she'll be like, wait, no, that is what I've chosen. That is what I want. I want to take care of my babies. But we've been like almost ingrained and trained mentally to bristle at what I just heard that woman say. And at the end of the day, it's like, that wasn't really that on the edge. You're going to make that really normal by doing Indian-only mixers in Austin, Texas, America, which is in the center of freaking Texas.
And I don't even know about the actual numbers that they'll draw to their line of thinking, but the outsized representation in FBI counterterrorism investigations will skyrocket because of the proliferation of the internet and that sort of messaging, and because it is an opportunity for them to get their foot in the door and open up cases on people who are just doing free association. Like, the arguments that we've seen this week are outside of the context of, well, if you don't like data centers, you're a terrorist. You're also seeing, we're going to hit the messaging of, you don't like women, which i.e. means you don't like feminism, which means murdering babies on demand, and women should be CEOs at all times and have this dual role. And you have a traditional way of thinking of like, hey, Ward Cleaver goes to work and June stays home. Like, that makes you a terrorist. NPR was making that case. And then they married it to say, well, that actually is white supremacy. So all things are going to lead back to white supremacy as the argument. They're going to just characterize people as a racially motivated, violent extremist because your wife doesn't have a job and she is a homeschooler or it takes care of the household. Like, that makes you the target, and you're in essence going to be characterized in that vein when you're just living a traditionally American life that is characterized in a Coca-Cola commercial from 50 years ago.
Yeah, 100% of that. I was just thinking the other day, I was like, remember that conflation that if you're interested in fitness and maintaining like a more muscular physique as a male, then that's white supremacy?
Yeah. Oh, that's what they went after Joe Rogan for. Joe Rogan, who was a Bernie Sanders supporter.
Right.
Like, well, he does kettlebell training, so he's probably a white supremacist.
I mean, I do remember like being told about kettlebells, and in a very funny military only way, they were making jokes about, how the kettlebell idea even came about and how it was in Russia. We have these bowls, comrade. We must lift with handle. Like there was this goofy joke that went along. It's like, these things suck. They're awful, but they're also good for grip strength, and they're good for doing full body workouts. And, there's a place in them, and I do kettlebells once a week. So like, whatever. But I also know that there are a bunch of Indian people that live in my little neighborhood. And when I see them in the gym, they are not doing white supremacy. I don't know what they're doing, but I assume they're just like This is how bad it is. Okay, this is how bad I am. I look at these dudes. First of all, Steve, you have to understand, I hate everybody at all times in the gym and mostly in public. That's generally I just look around and I'm looking for reasons to not hate people because my default position is I don't like them. Right?
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay. When I see people like me going to the gym, people like you probably, we just show up and we work out. I'm not talking to people. I'm not there to make friends. Nope. I was talking about on the call-in show last night. There's a guy who's a tall black guy. He's a stud. I don't know what his deal is, but he looks like he's in his late 50s or early 60s. He's a gray beard. He's taller than me. He's lean. He's fit. He's, in late middle age, and he just looks like a physical stud. And I see him on the treadmill, and he runs, and he lifts, and he's strong, and all this other stuff, right?
Just killing it.
And he's like, sometimes he's on the phone talking, like his grandchildren will call him or something, and he'll like say hey to them, and I'll be like, you say something? And he's like, no, I'm talking to my grandkids. I'm like, cool, bro. Like, that's it. Mm-hmm. We're not like that's the only words we've ever shared. And I wave to him and he waves to me. Like, that's the American ethos.
And then we get back to business.
Yeah, we're not here to like hang out. And then I see young people come in, and some young people come in and they flex in front of the mirror, and I want to choke slam them. But when I see Indian guys come in, they come in like 3, 4, 5 at a time, not in workout clothes, and then they just sort of like hang out in the gym and like sort of leer at people. And so whenever I see that happening, I hang out in the gym and I find things to do longer, like stretch, that I wouldn't normally do in the gym when there are women there. Because I don't trust that culture, because I don't think that culture values women the same way that I do. And so I'm looking around going like, you're now a threat to people that I don't even know or care about. And I'm willing to fight all 5 of you guys so that this woman can get out of here. Because like you're sitting here staring at a woman in gym clothes. Now, listen, women, don't wear like revealing stuff to the gym. That's a big help to it. But also like you should be able to come and work out in your freaking HOA gym as a mom. We had pregnant women coming in that were like 7 months pregnant, like huge belly. And one, I was like, that's wild. Like, I've never seen that. And number two, I'm like, I can't believe she wants to get out of the house. But number two, I saw dudes like leering at her because she's got belly skin because none of her clothes are going to fit normally. There's no like pregnancy workout clothes. That shouldn't be something that happens in the middle of Texas, in my opinion. And here's the funny thing. I can say that because I don't work for anybody else now. We just got our stream cut down for who knows what reason, because these opinions are not acceptable to the people that tell you what is and is not acceptable. And those people use things like AI, which is on the screen right now, and they have the absolute support of our federal law enforcement. I'm sure our state law enforcement's going to get on board with it too. We know where this goes because we already lived through COVID. So somebody comes down and says some shit that people are like, hey, that's wrong, that's immoral, that's unjust, but I have a paycheck that I need to keep going. And they will do that stuff. So it's gonna end up with a line where the lady with the blonde hair that we just heard talking about like whites deserve a place in the world, they're gonna start sounding an awful lot more reasonable. And they're gonna carve off a lot more people who are gonna get way more extreme than you would have ever seen them get, simply because you told people that were being normal that they are in fact extremists. If you're like, well, if I'm an extremist, you're going to see how extreme I can get. And I can get very fucking extreme, it turns out. You're not going to like it when that happens. You're not going to like pushing people into a corner where you're like, the only option is you have to fight your way out. And we are rapidly approaching a place where people are getting painted to the corner where they're going to have to choose basically their livelihood, complying with things they don't agree with, or probably violence. And I don't enjoy seeing it because I can see it coming. It's like a slow moving freight train that's slowly walking. It's slowly, a freight train slowly about to hit an Indian man that's wandering around on the train tracks.
And that's back to coronavirus, right? You don't want to be hostile or impolite as a general American sentiment. We like to just be nice to people. You like to give a head nod to the guy who's just in the gym working out and crushing it and killing it, but your instinct is to protect the ladies that are there that are having some creepo leer at them. Like that's a very uniquely American sort of sentiment. But when we were told that if we didn't want to put a face diaper on, or we didn't want to get the mark of the beast, that we weren't allowed to participate in society anymore because we just wanted grandma to die. If we weren't willing to bend the knee, again, another example of we lifted all the guardrails. Like you're not allowed to walk the wrong way down a grocery store aisle. You must stand 6 feet apart at all times. If you say, hey, is it kind of weird that there was a lab in the city where this was, and you want us to believe that a bat flew 600 miles without landing? And then barfed into a stew, and that was the origin? Well, then you were the enemy. And then we went from saying like, all right, I don't want to be impolite to, oh, now I'm going to welcome it. Now I'm actually going to actively walk the wrong way down grocery store aisles and hope somebody steps to me so that I have a chance to have the release valve because I have a lot of aggression built up.
That's what you're going to push people into that. Ready? This is an HEB. HEB is a Texas phenomenon. It's kind of like if Publix was better than at everything and more American and more like local focused. HEB, it stands for Herbert E. Butts, I think, which was their grocery store, and it started somewhere in the Hill Country in Texas, and it's grown. It is it's the national grocery store of Texas. Right? In the same way that Lone Star beer is the national beer of Texas. There's all these funny little Texas nationality type ideas. It's why I have a hat that says "Make Texas a Country Again." By the way, when I saw it, I thought it said "Make Texas Country Again," and I was like, "Oh, that's a good hat." My kids bought it for me for Father's Day, and when I put it on, it says "Make Texas a Country Again," and I'm like, I agree with both of those things. By the way,
unless Greg Abbott is in charge.
Yeah, in which case it's like "Make Texas freaking Hyderabad." So this isn't an HEB. And I kid you not, this could be my HEB because when you look at it, the demographics in my area would 100% favor this. And if I happen to see this at HEB, and I'm not a frequent shopper of groceries, that's my wife's gig. But if I happen to see this,
you sound like a white supremacist.
I'm telling you, that's like when I grocery shop like a Viking raider. My buddy used to refer to it as like, it was like a smash and grab job. Like when I come in hard and fast, exactly with what I'm going. I hit the store in the order in which I'm going to grab them. I have a couple of things that I grab from the supplement aisle because I take like zinc and vitamin D now. So I grab that. Then I roll directly to the yogurt and I load up the yogurts, which have to have full milk fat in them. So I'm real particular. So I'm looking for the one that says that there's full milk fat. So I grab that one and I know which brand I like. And then I roll and I get milk. I grab orange juice and lemonade premix, which is something that we've started doing in our house. I grab eggs, and then I roll and I grab the pizzas that my kids get because they actually have some really good pizzas where they import the crust from Italy. And then I'm out. Like it's 10 items. I'm in the freaking self-checkout. Do not get in my way. I'm rolling quick. I'm like dragging my kid by the arm. You know, like I hit my list and I'm out. And I'm not trying to like hang out there. I'm not looking for friends. I shit you not. If I see this thing in mind when I'm running around, if there's an impromptu dance contest for Indian kids in an Indian garb, it might involve Kyle driving right through the middle of it with my battle cart. Here we go. Let's see if we can turn this song into an Indian song from a British guy. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that was drunken, I have to poop, I have diarrhea ballet. What is that? What's going on here?
I'm more disturbed by the dudes that are there leering at it because my instinct is to...
That was in Texas, Steve. That was in Texas. You know?
Good luck with that state, man. Good luck. Look,
what are
that's
you
not
talking
going
about?
on in Publix.
They're voting. They're voting red. Listen, we have a song about. This is from the chairman of the GOP in Texas.
Texas voting red like always. Brother boots go stomper, flags go flumber. Whole dang state go.
It's catchy though. I mean, I got to give it to him. If this was the only reason that you were trying to tell me to vote, I wouldn't vote, but I would dance.
Well, HEB should just play that over the loudspeakers, and maybe you'd be less aggressive when you're going and knocking out your 10 items.
My HEB plays hits from the 80s. It's freaking epic. Nice. I actually sing while I'm doing the battle cart run because I know the words to every song because they are all songs from America and when I was growing up. It's the best thing you've ever heard. They'll have Michael Jackson. They'll have Beat It on. Like you roll, grab the yogurt, right? And then I'm out of there. Get out of the way. It's not deadly time. We make our own means. Like it's great. I love the music that they play at our HEB. It's not that shit. This is another person I saw. This like when they take it and they throw it right in your face, and you have this guy. What are the odds that your kids? Well, shit. How about you, Steve? You got a college degree. You went to like a gay school, didn't you? What'd you go to?
Yeah, I did. Our Ladies University. We got Jesus. University of Notre Dame de Luc.
Notre Dame de Luc. Why? By the way, why is it? Why are they the Fighting Irish when it's a French name? Can you explain that? My wife asked me that this morning.
This is the mythos that surround it. Apparently, there was an anti-Catholic bias at one point in this country. I guess the FBI didn't get on that one right away.
Right.
And a bunch of Irish Catholics stood up for the school and got into a giant fist fight at the gates when it was like an all-male school, like a very male instinct. And then they adopted that as their mascot.
Oh, okay, good. Well, all right, let me break over here real quick. We may play an ad from the folks over on Spotify. Apparently we got canceled on the YouTube, so you can't say thanks to YouTube, but you can leave them a comment about how you love them over on X, tag YouTube, and let them know that they suck. Rumble, give us a like over there. Unfortunately, Rumble also sucks. Yeah, you know, we're getting there. We're slowly getting there. We're slowly going to get back into a corner where we don't have anywhere we can actually talk, but that's okay. Steve, I wanted to play this guy. Are you employable right now as a graduate from Notre Dame?
Unemployed, unemployable.
Why is that? Well, like, what do you mean you're unemployable? Because I've heard you say that. I think you're probably right. I think I'm probably unemployable now because I get canceled on YouTube by saying, I don't even know what we did. To be like, I don't know what I'm looking forward to seeing that email. Actually, while you talk, why don't you tell people why you're unemployable, which I think is relevant. And then I'm going to jump on here. I'm going to look.
Well, I was originally suspended by the FBI, had my security clearance revoked, and then was told that I was going to be brought back immediately. And then that didn't happen. And then they said, all right, we'll get on that and we'll get it done in 30 days. And then that didn't happen. And then like 100 days later, I was on your program here on a Friendly Friday, and we said things like, you probably entrapped an autistic 30-year-old man as the pipe bomber for January 6th. And that was described as a threat to the life of the FBI director. So I was fake rehired back without a gun or security clearance, and then fired, but not before it was leaked to the media, to besmirch my reputation yet again, so that anytime that I apply for a job, they can just Google my name and see that apparently I'm a threat to national security in one way or another, and ergo probably not worth the squeeze on that juice.
Could you get a job making $120,000 a year right now in a tech company?
You know, I don't think so, but
what if you got like a certificate? What if you spent the next 6 months getting a certificate that says you're a fake engineer? Would you do that?
I mean, does it have like the perforated edges on it? Like it came off of like a like a jet, desk jet printer? Like, because those look like
no, it wasn't a desk jet. It's going to be a dot matrix printer. Here's our notice from YouTube. I just went ahead and pulled it in real time. Hi, Kyle Seraphin. Looks like extremist is another word for regular person in 2026, episode 810. Didn't follow community guidelines to help keep our community safe. We removed it from YouTube.
No further information.
What we found. We think that you didn't follow our violent criminal organization's policy. Content that praises, promotes, or aids violent extremists or criminal organizations isn't allowed on YouTube. We may make limited exceptions for content with educational, documentary, scientific, or artistic context. Read the policy here. This is just a warning because it's your first time. You can still upload and post live streams. However, we've removed this content from YouTube. Review the content and the policy. After your review, you can appeal this if you think we got it wrong. And you can take an optional training to remove the warning.
They removed your...
Let's see what this is.
...stream before...
Content intended to praise, promote, or aid violent extremists or criminal organizations is not allowed. These organizations are not allowed to use YouTube for any purposes, including recruitment. In some cases, we may make exceptions.
So we know now that YouTube is on team government that says that if you don't like technology, that makes you a terrorist.
Wait, who's the violent extremist that we posted? So we didn't post anything from a violent extremist, a criminal, or a terrorist organization, other than we do play some FBI videos here, but not today. Content praising or memorializing prominent terrorist, extremist, or criminal figures in order to encourage others to carry out violence. We didn't do that. Content praising or justifying violent acts carried out by violent extremists. We didn't do that either. We're not aiming at recruiting new members to violent extremist, criminal, or terrorist organizations, as far as I can tell. Guys, this is kind of fun. We made reference to what was going on in you guys are saying we made reference to what was going on in Idaho? Weird. Let's see. Content depicting hostages intended to solicit or threaten or intimidate on behalf of a criminal organization. We didn't do that. We didn't do insignias, logos, or symbols of violent extremism, and we didn't glorify or promote violent tragedies such as school shootings.
Wait.
I have zero idea.
You threw an image up of the demon god. Could that be a symbol?
Do you think, hold on. YouTube relies on many factors, including the government and international organizations, which are the government, to determine what constitutes criminal or terrorist organizations. For example, we terminate any channel that may have a reasonable belief that the account holder is a member of a designated terrorist organization, such as a foreign terrorist organization by the U.S. government or organizations identified by the United Nations. Does that mean that you can't have an Israeli channel? I've seen the Israeli channels. What are you talking about? Anyway, just kidding. I don't know what that is. Like, I honestly, like, of all the things that I've said here on this channel, this is the funniest. This is letting you know exactly where it is. It's like you can't point out that Hindus have a demon god. Is that what's going on?
I mean, I thought that was right around the time that they cut your stream down. But as you read through that, I really am starting to think more and more that saying that not liking data centers is not terrorism.
That may be it. We're going to get into the terrorist data center connection and Ken Klippenstein's piece yesterday, which actually expanded it even further, which I think is even more crazy. And I have some questions that need to be answered. And I think that we should be demanding answers of our members of Congress. Not that we actually get to vote for them, but here we go. Steve, this is a little bit of tip of you. If you wanted to get a job, since you are unemployable and unemployed, I'd like to be able to help you. So let me give you this not American guy telling you First of all, you're going to need some Indian friends. Did I mention that first? Let's start with that. That's the most important thing he says at the end. The only reason he got a call back is because he has Indian friends. And then you can follow this prescription on how to get a very lucrative job in tech despite not having any degree or background in tech. Ready? Here we go.
What do you do for a living?
I work as a Azure cloud engineer.
In Texas?
Azure Cloud.
Yes, in Texas.
Okay. And how many years of work experience do you have?
I have 4 years of work experience in India, but here it's like a 1.5 year experience.
That is Hyderabad, India?
Yeah.
Nice. What sort of educational qualifications did you need to be where you are?
So for me, it's just bachelor's and then a good valid experience in India.
Nice.
Should be good for me. But it depends on every person.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. So what do you think is the sort of money that you make right now?
120K per annum.
120K? Okay. So $120,000, do you think it's worth probably, let's say, 160, 190,000 in something like New York?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you happy with the amount of money you make?
I'm pretty much happy because I didn't do the master's here and I with the graduation, with the bachelor's, I'm happy with this.
Perfect. So what is a suggestion to people out there who are still sort of figuring out what exactly they should be doing? What sort of certification do you think they could pursue to amp up their money that they make?
So as a cloud engineer, I would suggest them to go with the basic Azure fundamentals certification, which might help them in coping up with their career.
Yes.
And I just see the market is not good, so I just say that don't lose confidence in that.
Right.
Keep trying and you'll definitely get succeeded.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You'll definitely get succeeded.
How important is networking on a scale of 10? Last question.
Oh, I think it's pretty much needed here because I've been referred and I was actually searching for a job individually and I couldn't get any of the interview calls and later.
Yep. Unless you get referred.
Yeah.
Steve, you just need an Indian friend to recommend you into a job.
Oh, well, I know the FBI director.
He's Indian. Oh, okay. How
Maybe
about
I
this
should
guy?
call and see if he could be one of my references.
Now, this guy doesn't have the degree. And so this is, I think, where the hope should come in. I think any of you that are thinking like, hey, I'd like to make $120K a year working indoors and sitting.
Having nothing beyond a basic certification.
All you need to do is take a boot camp on a thing that you didn't know about previously. Here we go.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a software engineer.
Okay.
Yeah. But right now, if you have a visa to work here, I don't think any technical degree you need right now.
Okay.
I guess just a course or something, online course, that's fine for now. Yeah.
Super. So what do you think is the sort of money you make right now?
Right now, I'm doing contracting, so my pay rate is around $70 per hour.
Nice.
So it comes around maybe 120.
Okay.
Yeah, before taxes.
Right.
Yeah.
So $120,000 on an annual basis. Are you happy with the sort of money you make?
Yeah, right now I'm happy. Yeah.
Okay.
Right now I'm single. Yeah.
You're saying right now you're single, but what if you were not? What would be your level of happiness otherwise?
I don't think if the work culture is good, 120 is fine anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. But if it is stressful and everything, I might expect more money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
What is the certification that you want to suggest to people out there?
I'm doing full stack development, so their certificate doesn't matter.
Okay.
So there are boot camps or something where you train for 6 months in from scratch,
Sure.
like front end development, back end development, etc. So that would be fine, I guess. Yeah.
How did you get this job? Was it reference or something?
My job, I got it from my friend reference, but
friend reference.
Yeah, but mostly we can directly go to the company websites and careers like.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that also works.
All right. So this friend of yours, he was already working in this organization, like a similar department.
Yes, not a similar department, but he's from finance side or something. Yeah, he just referred.
Sure. Okay. Awesome.
Weren't we assured by the president of the United States and other principals within the government that these jobs are being taken by foreigners because they have unique qualifications that Americans don't have? I guess Americans can't go to a boot camp or take an online course in order to work a job that pays what, $45,000, $50,000 more than the average American household brings down in a year. Household normally 2 incomes at these days.
See, the problem is that they do have skills that you don't have, Steve.
Networking.
Well, you don't have a lot of Indian friends that are working in the companies that might hire you.
That's a skill set. It is.
That is a skill that you don't currently possess. If you were able to befriend more people who are not from America to get hired in America, then you could also be hired in America. How many of your kids right now, those listening, are in a position where your kids would like to come out of college and make $120,000 a year? Maybe they like to skip college and just go to a community college for a semester and get a boot camp in code. Would they be hired? And I think a lot of kids would be willing to take $120,000 a year. I don't think I made $120 grand a year until I was in probably my late 30s. That was like that was an FBI job. That was good.
Yeah.
That was a good gig.
That's well in excess of what the average American, the median salary is in this country.
I was one of the highest paid people in Las Cruces, New Mexico, like in the top percentage of people paid there. I was also 41 years old, and I had a family with 3 kids and a wife. These guys are 5 single Indian men who always seem to be in like 3s, 4s, and 5s, hanging out together, holding hands or whatever, just wandering around looking for women or looking for places to spend their money on OnlyFans, I guess. I don't know what they do. I don't know. What are they? I know they drive Teslas because I see them everywhere. I made a joke about Tesla drivers to my local community county roads and bridges guy, and he was like I knew he couldn't say it, like on the outside chance that the land was recorded or something like that. He was like, he was not going to be able to make a people who are driving Teslas are likely Indian, but they all have stickers that say that they're student driver or new driver. And like, why don't you listen? If you want to be American, which you have an option, American is an opt-in option. That's the really crazy thing. You've chosen not to be. But if you wanted to be an American in America with your Tesla and you were a shitty driver and you got a sign that looked like a student driver sign, it's black and yellow, and it said caution shitty driver, we would accept you. We'd be like, yeah, you get it. You know, sometimes you see women that drive
is being self-deprecating.
Yes.
Yes.
Like women will sometimes drive like caution female driver. And I'm like, I love that. And that woman probably can drive. Like my wife grew up in New York doing wild, like I watched her one time. This is like a famous story in our family. She was in Texas. She was driving a freaking station wagon. She was driving northbound on Congress Street, which drives straight into the to the state capitol building. She's driving northbound on the street. She flips a U-turn and then she reverses and backs into a parallel parking spot in one motion. She was like, whoop, whoop. And she gets out of the car. And then she, like, the story goes is she was just moonwalking because, like, that's what you do when you're that smooth. So she moonwalks back to the freaking sidewalk. And these 2 dudes were like, whoa. Like, they were blown away because it's just like, brother, like, how'd you do that? You know? And they were like, are you from New York? When she was like, how did you know that? Yes, I am. That's weird. And they were like, because nobody knows how to do that stuff in Texas. Like, no one knows how to do urban driving. There are people who know how to drive that are women. It just turns out that whenever I see bad drivers, we play the game. Is it a minority or is it a foreign minority or is it a woman? Sometimes it's both. In Texas, if you're driving a Tesla, it's like 90%, pretty much guaranteed. If you just had a sign that said shitty driver, caution, we'd all be like, welcome to America. Yeah, we get it.
You would have a lot of latitude if with a little bit of self-deprecation, a little bit of appreciation for your circumstances. This is the thing that, how about both of those folks who were polled there, the woman and the man?
Mm-hmm.
They were asked, are you happy with earning $120,000? And they were like, yeah, it's pretty good.
That's what I expect.
Excuse me?
Right. What is your average? Hold on. Should we look up what the median income is in
where you came
India?
from?
What is the median salary in Hyderabad? Right. Okay. The median salary is here. Should I put it on the screen? Yeah, I'll put it on the screen. It's 18.6 to 26.1 lakhs per annum.
I'm going to need a conversion. That's like saying kilograms to me or
okay, hold on.
Meters. I don't know if it's 100 miles or an inch.
How many dollars are 2,600 lakhs in US dollars? Sure, whatever. Let's see what this comes out to.
Oh.
What?
You said 2,600 instead of 26.
They said 26.1.
Yes.
What the heck is that?
Well, wow, they're really killing it over there.
Yeah, they're making millions. Okay. It's the equivalent of about $27,000.
Oh,
so it's almost a 1-to-1.
Way below the poverty line, where you'd be getting an earned income tax credit and be a net drain on our economy. You're making somewhere in the area of 4 to 5 times.
Oh, so lakh is like 1,000 or something because their actual currency is
yeah,
rupee.
They have rupees, right?
That's what I thought too. This is how little I care about India.
How dare you? You're a white supremacist.
26 lakhs per year apparently comes out to this.
And
people
both
are saying
of those
otherwise in the
individuals,
chat, but I don't think that's true.
I presume they're single, no children, unattached, are earning 5 times what they could have earned in their hometown, and are saying like, yeah, it's okay. I mean, I'm fairly satisfied as opposed to doing backflips in appreciation for the opportunity that they have.
What? How many? I have to do this again. I'm blown away. How many? I'll do like the dumbest version of this. How many? Yeah, $27,000 a year is what they're making, and that's the median salary over there. Cool. Yeah, I'm thrilled. I love what people are doing in my country. I want this for all of us. I want you to not be able to make. I like that you're unemployable at this point, and if only you just had some Indian friends who were not the FBI director, then maybe you could get a job doing something. This is you're gonna radicalize people. You're gonna get extremism, and again, this comes from a technophilic society that has decided that they're willing to bring in people who are going to work on the technology, and they're a bargain as long as we can pay them $120. Like, here's the crazy thing. Can you not find Americans that'll work for $120,000 a year with the same certifications?
Yeah, those are jobs that Americans just won't do.
What is that? Like, what are we even talking about? It doesn't make any bit of sense.
Where you're really going to see, I think, the risk of a gigantic radicalization, and I'm seeing a lot of the revenues coming out from these tech companies, these AI companies, and how their valuations are like $1 trillion.
Right.
And yet they're bringing in way less than like a Home Depot. And you've now edged out Americans from having these jobs at these $1 trillion companies, and you're not even turning a profit. So you're going to go belly up, and then we're going to have all of these foreigners who are still here in the country.
How many people do you know, Steve, that if you were to mention the expression Ruby Ridge or make reference to what happened at the siege at Ruby Ridge would have a sympathetic feeling towards the people that the government raided?
I think pretty universally, it's a fairly big black eye in the government.
So they've made heroes out of these people, and ABC News is still trying to do this. This is from 2017, so this is going back into history. This is like when I was just getting into my first year in the FBI.
Wow, look at that!
Right, Ruby Ridge, 25 years later, a rallying cry for today's white nationalists.
They smoked his wife and kid and dog, and I don't care what he believes.
Listen, do you know why this was brought up, Steve? Because this is actually really salient. Because these things all end up being connected. Look at this paragraph.
These events recall last week's culturalists in Charlottesville, Virginia. Oh, that thing that Southern Poverty Law Center started? Oh, okay. But actually describe a 25-year-old incident in a forested region of northern Idaho, about 40 miles south of the Canadian border.
Middle of nowhere.
Yeah, not doing anything. And
by the way,
they had their target, and they sent an informant and tried to get him to break a law, and he wouldn't do it. And then they kept harassing him and said, "Oh, come on, just shave off a little bit more of this. Oh, now we have an illegal gun." Because he went to some white supremacist meeting, a guy who was in the middle of nowhere, and his ideology means absolutely nothing.
Zero. Here's the crazy thing. Look who they're quoting here. Read that quote and then see who it came from.
I think Ruby Ridge as a precursor for the last 3 decades of extremism, because it combined,
Sorry, I made it bigger and easier.
Two things, white supremacy and rage against the government, and that is exactly the same two movements of the far right that has animated extremists on the far right up until today, said Heidi Breirich. Oh, wasn't she cited in the NPR piece that says women are the new enemy of white supremacists? Mm-hmm. She's the director of the intelligence project at Southern Poverty Law Center. She was also brought in to testify to the January 6th Select Committee, a legal advocacy organization that monitors such extremist groups. She pulls down, by the way, $100,000 from her current group. I dug into the 990. It pays to just call people white supremacists.
Mm-hmm. That was in 1992. Mm-hmm. So we're getting closer and closer to looping back on sentiments from the 1990s. And the problem with that is that the last time that there was an outlet, the outlet was 9/11. That's what the last reset was. And I'm not making allegations about what happened. I'm just telling you historically, the only reason why the pressure that was building up in this country with frustration in the government, the intolerance of corruption in America, and also really there was a disgust with the political correctness movement, which was what they called it back then, when you had to accept things. That is going to be like, we didn't have the internet back then. We just had word of mouth. And people would be like, oh, that's not very PC. You shouldn't say that. So we had a bunch of people that basically were running around as society's human resource managers. And those people are by and large now going to get shunned by people who do not give a shit. The people who said no to the COVID shots that have already faced like basically their professional demise over this stuff, saying that we have an unapproved position that's not held by the government. You're going to really, really find that there are some radical people in America, and they are just regular people. They just wanted to be left alone. All you had to do is do America and stop taking things that shouldn't have been belonging to other people. The question has always been to me, what's the end game? Like, who benefits from this? Do you have any sense of that? Because I still don't. I don't have an answer to it.
Well, I think the individuals, and they're huge in any number, but like that Heidi Beirich type, because it pays, it's pretty lucrative to push forward fake narratives because people with deep pockets are willing to pay to have those sorts of narratives propped up to make themselves feel good about being educated and they're better than their neighbor. I think ultimately, though, the biggest and most lucrative recipients of this are going to be government, because they're just in search of a mission set, because they define success in growth. That is the definition of bureaucracy. And when they have the ability to imbibe information that they're probably paying for, because Southern Poverty Law Center was a source for the FBI when it came to saying that Catholics going to the Latin Mass were anti-government extremists, they'll take that and they'll launder that information, create the necessary paperwork and reports and fear-mongering that's necessary to find out the mission set and go from, well, we had a terrorist screening center, but now we'll call it a threat screening center, and we're interested in extremism so that we can continue to justify our existence and, in fact, scare the American people who aren't willing or able to actually do the reading and do the critical thinking into saying, well, the government's an objective force for good, so we should just continue on this mission set because they're telling us that these people are really, really bad. So the government is always the beneficiary of that.
This is really interesting. J.D. Vance got in and spoke about something, and he said, you can't boo me because I'm the vice president. There was a little snippet that got cut short, but, and he's probably right about this. But they're talking about data centers. This is a NBC News piece saying student commencement boos are a sign of wider AI woes, which AI is the enemy of people who are doing entry-level jobs, period. It will be. College campuses nationwide, people are growing uneasy with AI, citing threats to jobs and hobbies and even resume writing. So you have these people talking about this. You have students. When you have left-wing, like leftist institution forged students booing AI, and guys like you and me who are probably like on the fringe of aggressive, like reset the clock back to 1950 and let's live in that world again. If we're all joining hands, like the Predator meme of Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger, it's like right-wing traditional radicalists, traditional family radicalists, left-wing gender-confused idiot students, fuck AI. If that's what we're coming together and giving that handshake, you're in a bad spot, which means the government has to step in and call you a terrorist. Yeah. And that is going to be a real scary thing when you declare 70-80% of the American sentiment to be terroristic. And I'm going to show you the craziest thing. You probably didn't see this from Ken Klippenstein, but we'll end with that. I'll give you some thoughts on this. They actually cited that J.D. Vance mentioned that they can't boo him at the Air Force Academy when he's talking about growing AI, anti-AI sentiment.
Oh, yeah. And that's awesome, because Daniel Bongino right now, apparently, according to your chat, is advocating on behalf of data centers. So
didn't we get a Washington? You sent me a Washington Post story.
Sure did.
That was about that. So let me pull that up.
From a Lieutenant General, retired Air Force.
Okay, let's cover that. Let's have you walk through this piece here that you sent me so people can see it.
Well, I mean, just coincidentally, serendipitously, the same week, within 24 hours of Wired Magazine dropping their story about the anti-tech violent extremists that are on the radar of the federal government as potential terrorist actors, this op-ed comes out in Washington Post that says that it is a national security imperative that we build these data centers, and starts out with saying, well, people might have concerns. They might be concerned about the environment or the electric costs or water, but the imperative that is here is that we have to build these things. And if you oppose them, you are a threat to our national security, as Garrett O'Boyle would say. And now we have the crosshairs squarely on the American people, who might be of all political persuasions. You might be joining hands like the Maha folks did with Kyle Seraphin of the world, bacon cheeseburger nationalists, doing kumbaya with the granola-chewing mom from the Northwest, over, hey, we don't want to put gene juice into our kids, or we believe in raw milk. The same thing is going on here with the data center stuff when it comes from the lefties that are graduating from these indoctrination camps, otherwise called American university systems, and folks that are like, hey, I don't appreciate having to pay a whole butt ton for my water. Meanwhile, the data warehouse center over there is getting some sort of dispensation on their bills because it just brings in so much tax revenue. Well, now we're all going to be enemies of the state.
That's right. So here's where the line goes, guys. This is the through line for it. If you're watching still on Rumble, I guess, or if you're watching on X, trying to find us on somewhere that we're monetized, share the show, which is apparently too offensive for TV. You can find it at KyleSeraphinShow.com. You can send that link over to somebody if you're so inclined. Rumble, YouTube, YouTube nuke the stream for whatever reason. X, subscribe where you can. Appreciate that. For those you do, you may hear an ad from the folks on Spotify, which goes out to all the audio platforms. I'm going to show you the through line. Here's what it looks like. U.S. law enforcement warns of anti-tech extremism as Wired magazine as AI hate grows. That's real. That's happening. This was covered yesterday. The next line is a response. The response comes in the WAPO in the form of David Deptula, who is a retired United States Air Force Lieutenant General and the Dean of the Mitchell Institute for Aerospace Studies. He says blocking constructions of data centers is a national security risk. It's a infrastructure critical to military strength. We must have data centers to be able to have a strong military. No further information required. Your concerns are not warranted because China will have more than us. Okay, so that's the one thing. Then we get to the final piece of the line here, and this is Ken Klippenstein reporting on it. He dropped this yesterday. The members of Congress have their own intelligence service. Do you know this? We know this. This is not news. Steve Baker asked me, hey, we've known this for a long time. This is an intelligence bureau that's eyeing data center critics and saying that they're a problem. So here, let me flesh out the argument that Ken is essentially making. He calls it a newly created agency. It was created sometime, actually, I think before. They're calling it after, but there was intelligence services doing this before January 6th of 2021. He says a newly created intelligence agency of the United States Congress, which, by the way, intelligence gathering is an executive function. It's now warning that legislators are in danger from an angry public. The United States Capitol Police Intelligence Services Bureau, created after January 6th. I don't think he's right on that. In parallel with an 18-member executive branch intelligence community. That's going to be the folks at ODNI and all the members that fall under ODNI, laid out a warning in an internal intelligence report produced in April. This is the crazy thing. He's got a copy of this thing. United States Capitol Police Intelligence Services Bureau is saying that data center motivated shooting highlights potential threat to public officials and industry leaders supportive of expanding development. In other words, these people who might decide to attack a data center are also a threat to the elected representatives. I'll use elected in air quotes, the selected representatives that go forward and vote in favor of these things and these policies. Then it goes on and he says the big problem here, and this is what I guess Steve Baker was missing when he was asking me about it. There's one problem. The report admits that there's actually no evidence of any actual threats to members of Congress. They just made that shit up. They're extrapolating it based on the same thing they do all the time, which is that here's my intelligent idea. If people are mad about one thing, if people are interested in going to Latin Mass and they think that the world was better in a pre-Vatican II Catholic Church, they probably also are interested in being white supremacists.
Yeah. And whatever they're doing, we're going to say that it's pre-operational planning. Ergo, it's a conspiracy because very much like that group, I'm sure, in northern Idaho is heavily infiltrated by some sort of actor on behalf of the government. And they can say, hey, you know what we should do? We should go do this thing. And everybody's like, I don't know about that. But hey, in the meantime, let's go just shoot some guns. Well, that's pre-operational planning to take down the government.
And you've seen that in the Whitmer case, which you guys were part of the SWAT team that came in and did arrests on them. The near peers. Whenever I send you videos of me shooting, I always think that Steve's going to respond to me. Whenever I send you pictures, they're going to be like, holy shit, Seraphin is near peer.
Well, no, you're in excess of peer.
I think
you got better gear.
I definitely have better gear. I think I actually train more frequently too than I definitely train probably 5x more frequently than your average FBI agent.
Well, I mean, the average FBI agent trains when they just do a qualification 4 times a year. So. Mm-hmm. You're fine.
This was the analogy I made the other day too, and tell me if you can check my math on this. The qualification that law enforcement does is for the agency; it's a CYA. Training is for the officer, and that's why they don't do it.
Yeah, and the onus is on the officer. That's the personal responsibility. That's where you actually take your job seriously. You say, I'm a professional. So it's
I used to
incumbent
spend
on
money
me
out of my pocket on it.
not just do the bare minimum. I'm going to recognize that, hey, I get paid a butt ton of money. So some of that needs to go towards actually improving myself and my craft. If I need to buy some gear that's not issued to me, then I'm going to do that. If I'm going to need to do some training, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to get better. I'm going to pay attention to the news so that if I walk in and somebody says, hey, have you heard this Hunter Biden thing? Like your buddy is like, wait, what? I don't know.
Yeah, the problem is if you actually go do training, like maybe you go out and start shooting in the desert and practice draws from a holster at 50 yards on a target, then you're actually scaring people, and so therefore a consensual interaction that results in no
10-8 no report.
Yeah, that it results in no report from a cop is enough to remove you. This story gets even worse here. This is some of the scariest stuff you'll ever read. It warns artificial intelligence. This is what the U.S. Capitol Police is saying. They're saying we're not investigating any data center motivated threats to members of Congress. So that doesn't exist, but we're going to tell you that it could exist. And because it could exist, we need funding for it. Related policies introduced on the Hill and in local communities are likely to continue to draw opposition, which increase concerns for public officials. In other words, if you oppose what your members of Congress are doing, that increases their concerns and their threats of safety. Sure, dude. They also said that they have a world-class intelligence operation at the United States Capitol Police. There's nothing world-class about anything that the U.S. Capitol Police does. You want to confirm that real quick, too? Nothing?
I think they're just glorified security guards or tour guides, as Steve Baker characterized.
He said, we are significant players in the intelligence community in Washington, D.C., the region, and frankly, all over the country. Maybe that's why their very decent operatives are able to go from being Capitol Police officers directly into the CIA. They're both just world-class players in the intelligence community in Washington, D.C. Maybe that's Steve Baker's lead in there. He says, whereas before we were basically just consumers of information, the FBI would give us an intelligence and other agencies would give us intelligence. Now we're gathering our own. Under what charter mandate or under what legislative priority we're allowing an executive function to happen under the legislative branch, I have no idea. But this country, when I tell you that the scaffolding that is holding it up is very, very rickety, this is some rickety shit right here. When you have Congress doing executive functions and everybody's cheering it on and nobody sees like that's a problem. Like, hey, you're not allowed to do that, dude. You're a security guard for a building. You should be contracted and paid by the executive. And you shouldn't be there. This seems like a constitutional crisis for me.
And they have the semantics game, right? Well, we're just the elected officials, and everything we're doing is just pure as the driven snow. We're rational. We're in here. We're making deals. We're doing things bipartisan. We're compromising. So if you oppose what we say, you're just a extremist. You could be a threat. These words that sound really negative and have a bad connotation and are open for interpretation. And ultimately, when you dig into them, you realize that, like, well, Steve Friend is kind of an extreme guy. He's out there running long distances, and that could be construed as extreme, but it sounds really scary. So let's just throw money at the problem. And people who we can characterize as extreme are really the problem. We should eliminate them.
Here's where we're going with this, folks, because the attitude that I told you that existed in 1997 for Vince Flynn's, for his term limits book, where people basically cheered on the anti-heroes. If you'll remember, people actually kind of cheered on the guys that took over The Rock in the movie with Sean Connery. Like, they were the good guy, bad guys. They were kind of an anti-hero set. It was like that guy was wronged and he knew he was done dirty, and people cheered for him and they wanted good things to happen. Like, they wanted the best outcome to happen, but they still weren't mad about all the quote unquote bad guys in there. And even the good guys were kind of iffy. Of course, they used a foreign intel service. How about that? So how about this? Intelligence report reveals that the Intelligence Services Bureau of the Capitol Police is monitoring social media content critical of data centers, and they're looking for potential threats. They didn't say that there are, they're looking for them, which, by the way, are unactionable per this thing. Here are the two threats that they cited in this particular study. Quote, you can be damn sure there are thousands more rounds where this came from, and if you keep voting for data centers, we will all begin returning to the early days of American freedom and express ourselves via violence over words. Fact checked. That is, in my opinion, 100% true. And by the way, that is a 1990s sentiment that is coming back around 30 years later. I'll read one more and then I'll get your response. Quote, threatening the politicians who actually make decisions is logical, a social media user posted. Quote, I would rather shooters shoot up the Senate than a high school. End quote. Neither of these comments represents an actionable threat, says the Capitol Police. These are just people expressing a sentiment that I think is growing in general, which is that people are freaking pissed off because you've made America not for the Americans, that we don't recognize the 1976 Coca-Cola ad anymore. It's a freaking foreign country. And I never moved. Thoughts?
And they've reoriented what the American people's expectation is of our law enforcement mechanisms and national security mechanisms that exist in the country, where pre-crime is believed to be their mandate. Pre-crime is science fiction. It's just the three dudes laying in the milk water on the Minority Report movie. And what did Minority Report teach us? The pre-crime, even in science fiction, doesn't work.
That's it. There's another one, by the way. They just redid Minority Report in another version. And it's a Chris Pratt movie where AI is the judge and jury and executioner.
Okay.
And it is going to convict him in 90 minutes of killing his wife, even though he didn't do it.
Yeah. That's the entire lesson of the Philip K. Dick novel, and then the Tom Cruise movie, and then this new Chris Pratt movie. It's not possible to do pre-crime, and yet we are trying or aspiring to be able to do that. We are expecting, the American people are now in a place where they expect that of their government, and the government, in full knowledge that that's impossible, is happy to take that expectation in order to meet its actual goal, which is to enhance its ability to grow in personnel, material, and power. And then its mission creep sets in, and they start to actually use that mission set to do pre-crime, to just go after people who have problematic beliefs. Things that are engaging in malinformation, things that are true, but just inconvenient for the narratives that the government wants to put out there. And then they can use these overly broad terms and say, well, that's extreme, or that's a threat. We need to keep our eye on that. And people still, in good faith, are saying, well, it's coming from the government, so it's probably true. We don't know everything there, as opposed to saying, look, the government should never be the arbiter of right think or wrong think, as long as nobody is inclined to engage in violence. As long as there's not a true threat, it makes no difference. We're allowed to say whatever we want in this country and do whatever we want in this country. It's no business of the government, and yet they continue to intrude more and more. And one thing I'll throw in here is, they're now pushing, and I'm going to be talking about this in a little bit on American Radicals podcast, they're going to try to arm up the Postal Service police. And in the argument for that is they need to be proactive, doing pre-crime patrolling through the United States Postal Service, because their mission set is just so important, because it's connected to elections.
The crazy part about that is that also was a 90s phenomenon. The people getting mad and the post office and shooting things up. And so we started having violence in post offices. The whole concept of it, these are all like looping back to the 90s. I've said maybe 3 very quotable things since I've started doing this. That's not very many things in the thousands of hours that I've been on video and interviewed. But I do think that they're kind of like distilled into kind of hardline, what I think is true action or true statements about our current position. One of them, and probably one of the first ones, is that the country that I grew up in would invade the country that I live in. And people can take that and think about it for a moment, but I think that's true. And I think that 70s video from Coca-Cola proves this in my mind. The second thing I've said is that I believe that government is the worst solution to every problem, including when it's the only solution, and should be used sparingly accordingly. That, I think, also is relatively self-evident. And then lastly, in the last week or two, I've come to the conclusion that this government of, by, and for the people that we hope will never perish from the earth, per the words of Abraham Lincoln, it has perished from the earth, and we have a government that is of, by, and for the government. And that is the nature of a self-licking ice cream cone. It has no longer lost the mandate and the charter. It doesn't have the legitimacy of the people who are governed, believing the consent of the governed has been withdrawn. And then lastly, I came up with maybe my first law of home buying the other day, which I think you will agree with, Steve. You never, ever, under any circumstances, buy a home in an HOA where a woman is the president.
Well, then by default, you would never buy a home in an HOA.
That's not always the case. There are dudes who are presidents. They are not good either, but they are slightly like, at least there's the possibility that you could solve it like an American man, like we just drag him out behind the back, and you guys settle it with your fists or something. I don't know. I'd like to see HOA disputes settled. What is what's the term? Like trial by combat? I would like HOA hearings. If there's an HOA that says that you will have your hearings decided by HOA mutual combat, that'd be cool. But yeah, otherwise, generally speaking, like
HOA
but I know for a fact,
Thunderdome, I mean, you would get a lot of funds that way.
Oh my God. And people could bet on it, and the bets would go to benefit the HOA, Octagon solution. This would be great. Maybe not on the White House lawn, just in your HOA. But what I will say is that if a woman is elected president of an HOA, I will not live in that HOA. That will be a deciding criteria. That is a hard no. back out of the deal, lose your earnest money if you didn't know already.
You're not voting your way out of that HOA.
No, and what's crazy is that there are still some women out there making some sense. This lady is the same blonde lady that was talking about, are you a racial minority in the world, even if you aren't in your own country, and you're getting close to that in your own country. This is the blonde Swedish lady who may or may not have some sketchy stuff on her postings. She doesn't seem wrong about this. I think she's actually correct, and I think this is actually mirroring what I'm seeing in our chat, is that people are frustrated. So YouTube, you can take down things about Indian content that you don't like. You can hire all Indians instead of hiring people that look like Steve Friend's kids or my kids. But we're noticing, and there's a critical mass of like really capable, angry people that a lot of them were like me. They signed up for the military or they signed up in law enforcement. They work this way. They have some skill sets that you are dicking around with some like angry people that if you make them fight for everything they have because they have no other choice, and COVID was the first taste of what that would look like. I think what happened in COVID is why January 6th happened in the way that it did. I think it's why the federal government reacted so aggressively against January 6th. They needed to make an example of people that were willing to do just slightly outside the norms. Again, hundreds of thousands of people showed up peacefully. A few people, literally hundreds of people, tiny fraction of that got violent. And you're talking about the government had a massively outsized reaction because they were like, holy shit, if we let this go, the result is they probably drag all of us out. And that's the end of it for us. And the states will end up like ruling themselves. A 1990s sentiment.
I mean, you take the 90s sentiment when it started to creep in the political correctness, right? Oh, you can't say these things. You're just sort of like a Neanderthal, your sensibilities. You need to be tamed. And then you were told, well, your job really isn't that important. You should just stay home and stay safe and not go to the job because it's not essential, even though you use it to feed your family and pay your mortgage. And in fact, you no longer have a job, so just learn to code. And then if you learn to code, you still can't get a job because you don't know
have
the
any
right
Indian
person.
friends. You don't know the right guy. This lady is saying this thing. We'll wrap up and then we'll go and I'll let you plug the American Radicals podcast. Guys, if you're watching us still, I appreciate that. If you've come over from YouTube, welcome to the program. YouTube pays way better, but apparently also censors for things that I don't understand. I will be contesting that one. I will go get this. I will go get whatever their training is and I may screenshot it. I may even do a live stream of their training where I share the screen as I go through the training because I kind of want to know what it'll be. And so we'll share that maybe over on Locals. This lady's saying things, again, that are true, but you can imagine this would immediately get on the wrong side of certain people.
We need to talk about the .Indian problem. Everyone has an encounter story. Two of my local friends this week had one. From Toronto to Texas, from Harrow to Melbourne. It's not random, it's the Jeets. Even in strict Singapore, where foreigners get zero welfare, locals are complaining about Indian immigration. When you call out the crass, rude, pushy, entitled behavior, the response is the same. Fuck you, bloody fuck, and your mother.
Fucking mother, bloody fuck, bitch.
Or the instant pivot to white people are just jealous of our success. Whatever wins they have was made by fleeing their shithole country. Yes, I've seen it.
150 million liters per day.
How many people's sewage is that?
1 million.
So that's the shit of 1 million people. Oh, dear Jesus. You can smell it.
And exploiting the shit out of every white loophole in Western systems. What if they actually brought rampant scamming operations, fake in-home health care, tech visa abuse displacing natives, ruthless ethnic nepotism and hiring once they get in via DEI, and welfare chain migration exploitation on the backs of white society, all the while cheering on the demographic decline of Europeans? I didn't notice as much with one Indian restaurant or a couple token Indians here or there growing up, but now it's a nonstop pipeline and there's 1 billion of them. They don't even like each other until it's time to hate whites. And I don't care about the exceptions because as it turns out, even the better ones want to replace white people.
Base.
They're not Australian, not English, not Texan, not us. If their civilization and people are so superior, they can build whatever they want over there. This strong revulsion we're feeling about them isn't going away until they do.
So that's the shit of 1 million people.
You bloody.
This is just one drain.
She's got some pretty problematic perspectives on things, but here strategically, just let's comment on her strategy and how it's very smart. She is not going to tell a person who's like, hey, I'm not comfortable with that. I want to be neutral on this. Like, I'm not picking a side on that one. she's not going to say, well, then you're a hater or you need to be shunned. She's going to be like, okay. Whereas the other side is saying, if you don't subscribe to our belief system where it's perfectly acceptable to import hundreds of thousands of people to take jobs from Americans, then you're the bad guy. You're probably a terrorist. And if you create it as a choice between one or the other, that's going to drive a lot of people into her arms when she's just sitting back waiting for it.
She's responding to people like this. So anyway, I put this on the screen because I talked about it yesterday. 9mm submachine gun handle 9mm SMG over on X. Much of the country has shifted towards the belief that legal Indian immigration is far worse than illegal Mexican immigration. X is a large reason. I don't think that's true. They respond with how much money. If you say like, hey, I don't like that people are coming over here and taking American workers' jobs and they're filling it up with visas, as you're seeing, there's schemes left and right, the international schemes, the international students themes, the H-1B, et cetera, et cetera. They will respond with how much money you make, how proud they are that they're taking your jobs, how they're replacing white people. They can barely contain themselves. There's never been an immigrant diaspora more in need of a PR department. Had they flown quietly under the radar, which is exactly what this lady was talking about previously, like people didn't get mad about it, then you wouldn't see anybody lashing out in disagreement. He said, at this point, my biggest immigration concerns are legal visa workers. I don't think he's alone. And then you get women like this who clearly came up in this country based on her accent. But this is what happens when you combine sort of the arrogance and bullshit of a bad, I don't know, whatever, cultural people coming in that are being cocky about something that's not appropriate. And then you take the sort of leftist liberal, like we're all victims of bad people and white man bad from college coming out of American institutions, and you combine them together. It looks like this. It looks like a chubby, ugly, horrifically bad human being. All those things are like they're true inside and out of this lady. Just you follow this argument if you can, Steve Friend. Here we go.
Can we talk about illegal immigrants? Because our country is literally full of them. And I'm talking specifically about the whiteys, the Caucasians, the white people in America. They literally are here illegally. Their ancestors are criminals that came here illegally. And I don't know, maybe in the future we can do like a mass deportation, like all these white Americans they can go be refugees in Europe or something. Or like we can like have like a spot in America where like the refugees can go, and obviously we'll provide them with care and stuff, but it's important that they do it the right way. Just because their ancestors didn't doesn't mean they should get the benefits of that. And I think that they should they should be deported until they can like work their way back and get a citizenship the right way, like the way I did it. I did all the paperwork. They should also have to, because again, we don't need more criminals in this country. It's already full of them.
So she's looking to become a HOA president somewhere in the community near you. Mm-hmm. That's exactly the mentality of the Karens who run those sorts of organizations.
If you were wondering, you might have been wondering, you were thinking like, hey, which country or which civilization or which culture invented eyeglasses so that woman could see?
And can we dispense with the myth of the noble savage, Italy, that the Native American thing? Because the nature of man is one group conquers another. Like nobody's original to anything. Like that's nowhere. And that's not even unique to the human species. Like animals are always fighting over hunting territory. That's just 100%. The way of nature. And the Native American culture is non-existent. It's actually an invention of spaghetti westerns at this point, which were an invention of white people from the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also,
go
spaghetti.
To a powwow. Go to a powwow on any Native American Indian reservation in this country and realize, oh, wait, you mean the Cherokee and then the Apache and then the Omaha and the Sioux, they all have the same culture? No, they don't. And they were conquering each other back and forth for a long time. And yet their celebration that goes on in all of those powwow ceremonies are the same because it's universalized. It's an invention. It's completely fiction.
Yeah, full of Chinese products and freaking drinking.
Yeah, see some neon pink headdresses and be like, oh, that's authentic.
Totally authentic. It's gross to watch it. I'm telling you that there's an alienation that's happening right now, and it's people like that on social media saying dumb things, and it's the lady who's going to come back and she's going to say, hey, you got to create space and nobody cares what you think, and you're in my country, and she's not wrong. She's going to say it in a way that you don't like, that your 1980s, 1990s, 1950s, and 60s growing up is going to have a little bit of a bristle with it. You're going to be like, I don't think we're allowed to say that. And yet, it's going to normalize it. You're going to push people in because you're going to say, you must pick a side, you must wear the ribbon. Yes. And there's going to be a lot of us, because it's a very American thing to say, is like, you want us to wear the ribbon? Why was that episode so powerful? The you must wear the ribbon. Yeah. Right? It was powerful because Americans want to have an instinct, like as a natural national culture, our instinct is to say, fuck you if you tell me that I must do something that I'm not otherwise necessarily inclined to do. But I'm not inclined, like I'm not inclined to say that you shouldn't. Mm-hmm. Until you tell me that I must, then I think everybody should stop, and I want to get freaking violent. That's why the beard's growing out, by the way. The beard is an insurgency beard. I'm just growing it because screw you. Because somebody told me, like, hey, you should probably trim your beard up. It's like, go fuck yourself, people. I don't care what you think. I only have to answer to one person, and she thinks it's fine.
Well, the episode was powerful because Kramer is actually walking in the AIDS walk. He's an advocate. He's on their side, but he doesn't want to wear the uniform.
That's right. And they made an enemy of him.
They made him an enemy. Look, what's the difference between that and the Weaver family living in the sticks?
They're like, you're not part of American culture. They said you are not city material. You are not acceptable for like the mass of society. You must leave. And they were like, got it. We're out. We're gonna go to Idaho where nobody wants to live. And they were like, that's not enough. You must also agree with us. Now we're gonna come kill your kids. That's where it ends up.
And you make him a mascot to people who are like, wait, what the heck? He wasn't bothering anybody. He wasn't doing anything. I don't want to say I want to like hang out with the dude and become friends with him. He's not hurting anything. And now you've made him the martyr. You've made him the mascot of, oh, well, you know what? If it's going to be a dual choice, one or the other, I guess I have to go with him because his immediate instinct was to like, hey, I don't want to be involved.
If you made me choose between that woman who said that we need to deport Whitey and make them refugees in Europe and these guys here who are standing doing the SS salute wearing like freaking costumes as neighbors, I would choose these guys as neighbors 10 times out of 10 because I bet you they put their freaking garbage out when they're supposed to.
They probably mow their lawn, right?
And they mow their freaking lawn. Right? And I bet you they don't have loud music at 10 o'clock at night. And I bet you they aren't doing some freaking weird Hindu festival on their front lawn and renting out the community center every single week to do something that has nothing to do with my country. You'll make me choose these guys over the alternative because this looks familiar to me. Like sunglasses, got it. Like bomber jacket, kind of gay. You want to wear like you look like a Boy Scout who got lost and decided to put on a strap. You're doing cosplay. That doesn't bother me. It turns out it doesn't bother me because we have a million things in common. I'll tell you your jeans are too tight. I'll make fun of you for not working out enough. We'll be regular dudes. I'll be like, oh, that's my Nazi neighbor. And and it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And they'll be like, oh, that's my neighbor over there who grows a beard. He thinks he's a Muslim or something. And then we'll still get along.
He's got problematic beliefs that I don't agree with, but he's never going to act on. So we can coexist here.
This is where we're at, man. I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is a bad place for this country. And every time when I wake up and think about it, I go, okay, I didn't choose this. You didn't choose this, Steve. And like neither of us picked this moment. And this moment is being foisted upon us. And somebody is going to blink. And I don't know which one it's going to be, but it's going to end up ugly. I can just see it already. And again, at the end of it, I'm just prepping my family with the things I need to. We're going to go to church. We're going to work on fitness. We're going to make sure that our kids know what's going on. We're going to make sure they know how to shoot. I'm buying guns that my daughters can carry at 8 years old, that they are physically able to do it so I can do training with them because they're going to need to know how to do that in this world. I can tell.
I had the chat with Trevor Aronson yesterday, and at one point we were talking about, he's like, it doesn't make sense to me why they wouldn't just like bring you guys back and put you in a corner somewhere, and like, why would they want you outside the tent pissing in rather than inside the tent pissing out? And I was like, it is worse than that, man. They could have put, who knows about Kyle because he's a feral animal, but like they could have put Kyle and Garrett and Marcus and me in some rural Idaho office, just us by ourselves, because we just wanted to be left alone.
That's right.
And they could have sent us to Lewiston, radicalized us the other way, which is exactly what we're talking about today.
Yeah, it's the old Jeff Cooper thing. Beware the man who only owns one rifle. He probably knows how to use it. You're kind of getting into that space where it's just like, just beware the guy that wanted to be left alone and you insist that he get involved. You're going to make the Kramer type. He's walking in the walk with you. He just doesn't want to wear your freaking ribbon. And if you tell him he has to wear the ribbon, now he's going to walk the other way and he's actually going to fight your walk. Yeah. And you're going to create a whole culture of it. And I already know that because that is American culture. That would have been the culture of 1776. They're literally celebrating people who said, hey, do this thing. It's just the British rule. You're a British subject. This is what you're supposed to do. And people went, you know what? I'd rather kill you and die at the same time. Like, I'd rather do that I'd rather risk every single thing there is.
Yeah.
That's my preference. Enough people in this country, that is the central motivating factor of like, you're like, hey, what is America? It reminds me of this thing called action figure therapy that I used to watch at the beginning of the internet. And the guy was like, if I'm standing on it, it's America. You know, it's like, I like machine guns and titties. Like, it's just like those sort of mentality guys, you can't make them be psyched because there's a freaking Bollywood production happening in the middle of my HEB. That dude's going to turn into a radical. He already was, just leave me alone. He doesn't care. He's like, oh, you want to do Bollywood and Bollywood? Knock yourself out. I'm going to actively avoid Indian places. I'm going to actively do the thing that they said that they do that's successful. They only keep money in their community. Wait till you see people start doing that on the other end of it. It looks really gross, and it's not American. It's not an American sentiment, but you'll make it one.
Yeah, you're going to cause a balkanized culture, and it'll be the fault of one side that is completely out to lunch with its perspectives on if people want to be left alone, to force them to engage in something and make them make that choice, one or the other, there is no third way, then the default sentiment, particularly in this country, culturally, is F you, whatever you're about, I'm going the other way. And then I will become, it's like the people that come from Cuba and flee communism. They're like the most rabid pro-American capitalist guys. Like, you're going to make those people into zealots that are beyond what that white woman is spouting about.
That's
all
right.
her white supremacist ideas. They're going to become beyond her.
You're going to get my first generation Mexican buddies that were in freaking Border Patrol on my team too. Yeah,
and
they're going to be part of it.
Level guy,
and they're
right?
Gonna be, those guys are rabid Americans in the sentiment of like, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be. You're going to find the people who believed in what America was supposed to be about. And it's not going to be good for you because it's pretty aggressive. It's pretty violent. And like you said, it's pretty FU. That's the instinct. I don't like where it's going, but it's Friday. So should we do something funny? Why don't you plug American Radicals and I'll find something funny that'll make us laugh.
Yeah, definitely plug something funny between now and when the American Radicals podcast starts at 12 o'clock Eastern, because it's going to be more black pills. Similarly, along the same sort of lines, because today we're going to be talking about more into this Wired piece that went into how anti-tech violent extremism is. It's really about throwing a rock into a pack of dogs. The one that yelps is the one that you hit. Everything that we're seeing is what they're projecting and they're telegraphing that they're going to do when the power swings back the other way. So you can join us at AmRadPod on Rumble and YouTube. Hopefully YouTube doesn't kick us off our stream on that one. And as always, you can go to Spotify, AmRadPod. Appreciate you guys as always.
One more second here, and then we're going to kick this thing. I'll tell you what, Steve. There we go. All right. I think I got enough. On there. Thanks for joining me. There he is. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you have a good weekend. I'll probably talk to you in a little bit. And then we'll find out about this training that I'm going to get from YouTube about how to be culturally appropriate to demon gods. Have a good one, buddy.
All right. God bless.
See ya. All right, folks. Hit the like button if you're still watching wherever you're at. Let's see what I've got here in the hopper for things that can make us laugh. Gosh darn it. We need to smile. Let's do it.
Posting something insane, an AI executive said, every day in 2026 until I run out of crazy stuff.
And so I have a lot of
this is Alex
deep
Karp,
understanding and
Palantir.
And I'll get to this, and deep appreciation for the German culture. I think one of the craziest things is you have this whole thing online where people like laud the Nazis. Like, I spent a lot of time talking to Nazis, like real Nazis, and like understanding what made them tick and what made them. I mean, part of the crazy thing about people, a lot of the Nazis nowadays, is there's not a single Nazi that would ever have included them in their movement and would have shipped them off to the camps quicker, maybe, than they shipped me off to the camps. But
what the hell was that all about? Cool. That's the people that we should have in charge of all of our data centers and building these things up. You wonder why people want to resist this stuff. That's crazy talk. Okay. We talked about jobs. We talked about working in tech. We talked about maybe a little bit of the HR management thing. How many of you guys want to work in a challenging and dynamic environment? Is that what you're looking for in your lives? Are you thinking, if I could just get a job in a challenging and dynamic environment, that's what I'm going to sign up for? Challenge me. Maybe not. Maybe you're looking for something a little bit more chill.
Do you want a dynamic workplace with constant challenges that push you to your limit? No. What the hell are you talking about? Is this a job or a Ninja Warrior course? Why does every job posting have to start with, do you want to be stressed out all the time and die sooner? This is how you're selling the job? Make it sound stable and nice. For God's sakes, World War III has been trending for weeks. You want people to apply, say at this job, people are calm and normal. And whenever there's nothing to do, everyone keeps their mouths shut and enjoys it. Jobs don't need to be stressful. Not even the people whose job it is to move the doomsday clock look stressed out at work. Look at his face. This is not the face of a man being forced to wear many hats in a fast-paced environment. So every other job can calm down.
Just saying. It's probably not the greatest pitch in the world. The last thing is, last week there was a trend that has disappeared right away that was talking about Cars for Kids. You guys got really excited about listening to the Cars for Kids song. I think you guys want to hear the Cars for Kids song again. I'm just kidding. No, you don't. But how about some commentary on that? You're not allowed to say this kind of stuff out loud, so this can get you canceled, apparently.
Would Americans rather have...
That is not what I was trying to add on there. That is a totally different video than what I was trying to show you. What is going on here? What's up with my clips? Where did they go from? Let's see. Stand by. In my downloads. Should be right here. Oh, that's why, because I clicked on the wrong one. That was on my fault. That was my bad. Let me give you one more. It has nothing to do with either of those things. Let's just talk about the reality of working in the military. This is why I think Private Snuffy, he's going to be on our side.
The Department of Defense, with its $841 billion budget, requires you, E3 nobody, to take out a credit card in your own name to pay for all travel-related expenses. And when the mouth-breathing ASVAB waivers at the finance office forget to pay your bill, your personal credit score is forever affected.
So sorry.
Leave $1 trillion worth of military equipment unaccounted for. Squadrons of attack helicopters with the keys left inside them in the hands of our sworn enemy.
Of course.
But God forbid, Specialist Shit for Brains loses his $24 B-dubs receipt.
That's the soapbox. That was the truest thing you've ever heard in 60 seconds. If you've never been in the military, you just got a taste of what it is. You're personally on the hook for somebody else's failure, and your credit record will be forever ruined, even though you're a 19-year-old retard who just signed up because you were trying to get a stable meal and you couldn't figure out what kind of college you could apply to because they seemed like the applications were too long. Holy moly, that's true. All right. I hope you guys have a good weekend. I hope you go train. I hope you go do useful things with your time that involves things like going to church, hanging out with your family. I'm going to do all those things. We're doing a cool gun interview that's going to be part of, I think, the Tackleberry project as well that I've got coming up in a couple hours. So we'll try to get that over on the channel starting up there. If you guys haven't followed the Tackleberry project, there's like, I don't know, there's like 15 or 1,800 people that are following it already across the various channels. The Tackleberry project. It's I'm Your Tackleberry on YouTube. I think that one's still intact. I don't think they nuked it. It's I'm Your Tackleberry over on Rumble as well. You guys can find it on either place. Very easy. You're going to see guns, gear, training, tips, tactics, techniques, and maybe some interviews with people in the industry telling you about where it's going, where it's been, what's interesting, what you should spend your money on, what you should wait, what financial mistakes I have invested in that I wouldn't do again because I buy everything, and then I'll tell you what's worth the money. You guys can buy it one time. I'll buy all the stuff. That's just how it'll work out. So check out the Tackleberry Project. Thanks for being part of our program over here on the Kyle Seraphin Show. I hope you have a fantastic whatever it is, and then we'll see you on the other end for a full-length week starting on Monday at 09:30 Eastern Time. God bless. See you then.
Thanks for listening to the Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram at Kyle Seraphin.